If you're into strength sports, you've probably heard of Caffeine and Kilos. They have a great brand, great coffee, and make some cool apparel. If you go to west.caffeineandkilos.com, you can get 10% off all of your purchases. Check out the website, show them some love, and buy some cool shit.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
Well, so
Welcome.
Danny, if you want to take, lead the way.
This is an embarrassing question. What's the name of the podcast?
It's called the Danny Lehr Podcast, actually.
I thought it was West Kids Presents.
No, we just change it to whoever the guest is to that. That's the name of the podcast.
Okay.
It's hard to follow.
No, really, what's the name of the podcast?
Be
Be Somebody.
Be Somebody Podcast.
That's right.
Be Somebody podcast.
Welcome to the Be Somebody podcast. I'm your host, Danny Lehr. I've got my guest here, Wesley Kitts, and also Jacob the Snake Up Baker. Welcome. This is episode number 17 for the longtime
Yeah,
listeners.
might be
Glad
right.
you could be with us here. So, Wes,
Danny.
how'd you get started?
So this is the first podcast I didn't do any prep for since our worst podcast we ever did that no one will ever see.
That's a good history.
Yeah.
Sounds promising.
But every time
Wait, hold on. You're on Patreon now, so I think that podcast can maybe be on Patreon.
We can put it on Patreon.
Yeah. It's a pay-per-view type of an episode.
every time me and Danny get on the phone or see each other in person by coincidence, whenever that happens, it's probably
Has
never
that ever
happened.
happened?
Probably has never happened.
I don't know.
Or just hang out, like it's just always constant, just bullshit, really, just nonsense. And
Quality conversations.
I figured that it would be no problem to do, like as long as we wanted.
I
Just
think that's
hanging
what our
out
listeners want, actually, is quality
bullshitting
bullshit.
with Danny.
Yeah.
But what have you been up to, man? What you've been? You've got a little gym. You've had to.
Got a little gym.
We've got the California rules that you've not been able to operate regularly. What have you been up to?
Oh, well, people are exercising outdoors.
Okay.
And as it turns out, they like that.
Outside's nice. It's nice
Outside's
outside.
nice.
Yeah, it is.
I'm a little concerned about here's the thing. All right. So we have to work out outside. And so we got some carports out there. We have like 1,800 square feet of covered outdoor gym, which is twice the size of our original gym, the first one we had.
All right.
So that's all promising. Not a big deal. And people are excited to be there. Like they're just excited that we're open because a lot of other gyms in town are closed down and shit's closed down everywhere. So we actually have people signing up like outside. They do their intro outside. They know they can only work to people are signing up for 18-month contracts. And right now all they can do is exercise in our parking lot.
That's awesome.
Man,
Yeah,
it's like
but-
Venice Beach 2.0. Like people love working out.
Why did you
outside.
ever rent a
Get
building?
everyone
I
to
don't
take their shirt off,
Well,
put a
look,
little
there's-
bronzer
Well,
on.
it's free vitamins,
Yeah.
vitamin D.
Yeah.
And
Plenty of it.
I got to get that D.
Explain that to everyone.
Get the D?
How is there free vitamins?
Well,
At your
so vitamin D,
Okay.
you only get from the sun. It is not a nutrition intake. You don't get it from food. You can only get vitamin D from the sun or supplements. But there's
What about Animal Pack?
I don't know if they include vitamin D in animal
Mega Man
packs, but
Plus?
it's called Animal Pack, but that doesn't mean it's an actual animal product.
Oh.
It's not actual food. Those
See,
are
that's-
just supplements.
That's very
right?
confusing, actually.
And I believe the research on whether or not your body actually absorbs and uptakes the vitamin D from the vitamin D supplements is kind of out there. They're not sure.
Have you noticed they put vitamin D in all supplements now?
Really?
Yeah, our
no one
we had
wants
a
to go
fish
outside.
oil.
Mhm.
We were working
Oh, there's
with Nordic
something about
Naturals.
there's a symbiotic relationship. There's something about vitamin D and fish oil. If you take them together, you uptake more of the vitamin D. I think if it's in a fatty source or there's something
yeah,
with
with
that,
something
the
with
omegas.
omega-3s and
and
vitamin
vitamin
D.
D.
Yeah.
It's like
something
milk
that.
plus D, and then you've got
Yeah.
your fish oil
Which
plus D.
apparently vitamin D tastes really bad
Well,
because
then
the
you've got
milk
just
plus
your
D is
D.
really
Like
not
if you're
good.
taking all the D's,
Oh, yeah.
how much D can you take before it's too much?
How much?
Yeah.
How much? Well, I mean,
Really?
we could take turns on this. How much D can you take, Wes?
I don't.
I feel like
I've not hit my max.
You
I'll just
have
leave it
not
there.
maxed
I've not
out on the
maxed
amount of
out
D you can
my-
get in your. How much D can one absorb? How much D can you get in you?
Dude, I don't know.
You
Plus
know?
the sunlight.
I mean-
How do you even measure your sun D
I don't. Well, I think you can. I think there's a D test.
for the blood test?
You can test your D. Jake, you ever test your D?
Very often, actually, but I don't really have a conclusive answer as to how much I can take. But I'm always testing,
You're always testing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, how'd you
I'm a
know?
scientist at heart, so.
Right. Yeah, well, I could see that, So you get it from the sun.
Okay.
You get the vitamin D
It's
from
free
the
from
sun.
the sun.
And
So
from
if you
animal
were-
supplements.
And from supplements, but not animals themselves, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is interesting
that.
because if they get the D from the sun, but you don't get it from them, I don't understand how that works.
Feel like if it's in there.
If it's in there.
I feel like some people give animals D
Oh, yeah.
in certain states.
Actually, I read this article. I believe it was Colombia or maybe Brazil. It's a Vice. It's a if you like Vice show.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like on like the Vice, like Vice magazine,
Yeah.
which has their little news show. There's a whole Vice episode about this small isolated community that's in South America somewhere. Anyway, and they are really into donkeys.
Sexually?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's an interesting
Not
thing.
just like Eeyore's a really great mascot for them, but no, they that.
Yeah. Okay, Nick, completely off the rails now. Anyway, I don't know.
Somehow this has to do with vitamins.
Vitamins,
it's gonna come back full circle eventually.
Do you have dogs? You have a pet?
I
Do you
have two.
give your dogs vitamins?
Nope. Well, my wife's kind of like Kendall is very
She's pretty with it.
She
that
does.
kind of
She
stuff.
pays
Very-
attention.
Yeah,
I know
very,
they get
well
like
aware.
they get some kind of like stomach health supplement that she dumps on their food, and we did this really
Like a
expensive
probiotic.
we did this really expensive green food powder for a while that was apparently super healthy for them, but then I realized how much it costs. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
that's more than I spend on groceries. Like, let's shell out on the powdered green food. So yeah, I think they probably take some vitamins and then whatever's mixed into their food they're in. Yeah.
I just have a 15-year-old dog, and so his joints are a little rough.
Yeah.
There's some grinding and popping going on.
Yeah.
But he's happy. Like it's all good. But anyway, I started giving him CBD, these like Cbd Joint Treats. So they have like CBD
Yeah,
and
I've
then
seen
like
that.
chondroitin and glucosamine, like all the stuff you would take for your joints, whatever. And I started giving it, and he's good to go now. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, well, yeah,
Turned
like
a new
jump
leaf.
onto the couch. Like,
Yeah.
he's, oh yeah, like made him like 5 years younger.
Do you think it's
So you sneaking some of those in now that it's you've seen the effect
They
on
don't
him?
taste. They don't taste as good as they look.
okay.
I mean, they look great. They're like little bone shape, yeah, super
Scooby
brown.
snacks.
This nice brown, appetizing.
Just a dry crunch,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really nice, like a Nature Valley bar.
Have you like every time you open those Nature Valleys, like
I don't eat them
you know
anymore.
it. You're like, okay, well, half this is gonna go on the
Yeah,
ground.
we need a bowl.
I need a bowl. You have to open it over a
It's
sink.
not worth it for what they taste
Yeah.
like to what it feels like to have to eat one. It's
Pretty
just
dry.
not worth it. Yeah.
So you work out outside, you get the free vitamin D from the sun, and you get fit.
That's great.
Just to round this out, round out our vitamin,
It came back.
vitamin talk.
Hey guys, Wes here. Wanted to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors, California Strength. If you're thinking, well, I'm more of a CrossFitter and don't need a whole weightlifting program, California Strength has something for you too. It's called the Barbell WOD. It's a bolt-on strength and conditioning program for anyone that happens to be on a full or part-time CrossFit training regimen. If you're interested in this, head to californiastrength.com to learn more and make sure to use the code WESKITS for a 15% discount. If you're serious about weightlifting and getting better, join our team. Did you bring any equipment outside or like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just pulled a bunch of mats out
Okay.
to like put mats underneath the tents
Right.
because we're not using them inside. So basically now the whole gym is just storage. Right. So the equipment's in there. So people just like go in, they get their equipment, they bring it out, they use it, they wipe it down, they put it away. And so that's just every time you need anything, you just grab it, bring it out. And then sometimes it rolls a little because the parking lots,
Right.
got an angle for drainage.
Yeah.
Someone asked her, what happens when it rains? I was like, well, if you're not under the tent, you'll get wet. That's pretty much what I got.
I don't know
for
what
ya.
else to tell you.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, and I was like, and if you're under the tent and there's a little bit of a breeze, you might
Still get
probably
wet.
gonna get a little wet also, and that was kind of it. They're like, oh, all right. And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Again, it's people are just happy to be able to work out and be able to do something and be a part of something and all that,
Yeah.
So, and actually the the thing is too, it is actually nice working out outside. Like when it's all over, I think we're gonna leave a couple of them out there, and have like little outdoor area too.
That's one thing as a weightlifter that every time we're warming up, we go over, open the garage door. You're over by the turf there, the sun's shining in. It's like, man, I would love to see the outside today, especially if it's a double day. Like you get there, it's kind of dark outside. By the time you leave, it's gonna be dark. Like, man,
Cal Strength is like half of it's a basement. Like the wall that we train on is underground. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of underground. It's partly underground. There's a big hill behind.
Yeah, there's a big hill.
But anyways, there's no windows.
Well, there's a big hill on the west side too, so it's like
you
don't even get any direct sun to that.
Yeah, there's no windows because the front of the building has other shops and stuff. So we literally have our garage door on the right that we can open for sunlight, and then we have our man door on the left that we can open for sunlight. But neither of those doors can be open during coronavirus season anyways. Because we're closed.
There are times we're training at night. We train at like 3 and we're done maybe around 6. And I expect to look outside and it's pitch black and the sun's still up. And it's like, what the hell? What time is it?
In the basement.
In the hole.
In the hole.
In the hole.
So when I get home and I've got my own place, I want windows. I maybe don't even want walls.
That's my dream.
Just a bird killing building. Just all the birds just
whack, smack.
Yeah, every day.
That's my dream home. I've actually told my wife that. I said I call it a 3-bird home. You got to have 3 birds that run into the windows a day. If you don't have 3 birds crashing in your windows every day, there's not enough light in there.
You're right.
You got to get some more of that natural light.
Yeah.
Do you gonna save the birds?
Well, I mean, if they're still breathing, it depends on how fast they're flying.
Are you gonna crack them and finish them, or are you gonna?
No, you get down there, you get your little fingers, and you just kind of like some real quick.
I don't know, but if it's time to call it, what do you do?
Could you imagine? If
you get a cat, I think you need a cat.
Well, you keep a bucket of water out there.
Okay, because you want to waterboard them or get it for information.
Can you imagine running full speed?
I don't know. I don't plan on killing birds.
Can you imagine running full speed for some reason and then all of a sudden you hit something that you can't break and you just smash it? Could you imagine?
Well, I've seen my kids do it sometimes. The slider.
Yeah,
that would actually be my superpower if I could have one.
You
can run through walls. 50-50 chance that you'll actually make it through.
Oh, so it's always a gamble.
Yeah. How exciting! How exciting would that be?
I'd like, you give me 52% odds, I'm in. But I want the odds to be in my favor.
49, 51. Okay.
Yeah. Give me the odds.
Less exciting, but okay.
Yeah, we could split it though. Like you could get 47 chance of success. Okay. I'll get 53.
Both double down on that. You probably die the first or second time you do it.
You're not gonna die. Only if
you have to be going full speed. That's the caveat.
Well, is it? And I'm like, if they're like, can you choose the wall? If it's like a brick one, I feel like a little more damage.
50-50 either way.
Whatever the wall is, you can go completely through, but it's a roll of the dice. It's a literal toss of the coin.
It could be paper, and it might stop you though.
That's true.
50-50.
You're right.
Yeah, that's true. You're actually weaker with the superpower.
One of those Japanese sliding doors could actually kill you.
Yeah. Well, it's drywall. If you miss the studs, you're okay. I've actually here at Cal Strength, I've gone inside the wall.
Oh,
back before
missing a clean or something.
Yeah. Before they had the plywood. See, Dave, this is a real interesting thing. He said, we're going to clean this place up. So there's all these holes in the drywall. And so what he did is he put plywood over them. Right? So it's like, okay, so it's a little more sturdy of a wall, but when someone hits it, it's a little...
Still sturdy.
It's a little different. So back in 2010... when I first started lifting here at Cal Strength, the walls had various holes in them between some studs every now and then, where it's a place where bodies clearly had been, or where like weights had been lower on the ground. And so one time I was doing a cleans off blocks, and it was pretty heavy. It was much heavier than my body weight was, and so I lost the handle on it.
Yeah.
Like I lost my grip on it right when I finished, like right as it was like coming into my thighs. And so the whole opposite reaction type thing, right? Boom. And so then I just went flying backwards, like uncontrollably. And then I was in the wall. There's a hole. I didn't make a hole. There's already a hole there, but I found it. Anyway, all of a sudden I ended up and I was between the studs and like kind of rattled. And the bar just kind of like actually ended up on the blocks again. And so it just ding, 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 and then stayed there. And Glenn Penlay was coach at the time. He just looked at me and he said, well, That was actually kind of cool. and there I am in the wall. And I'm like, yeah, that's one way to see it. I suppose it could have been cool.
Glenn always appreciated the arts.
Yeah,
He could see the silver lining.
he did.
This place it was like the Wild West for weightlifting.
I say it's not a joke. Like there's like fist fights during training. It was
I don't know if I could hang with the old school cow strength.
Oh, you would have thrived.
This place was a wreck even in 2016. Like the holes in the wall, like it was just like it was
when did the remodel happen?
The gym had like shell shock.
Probably
until, like,
right
2018.
Right around 2015, 16 maybe when he
with all, like got outfitted with all the sore neck stuff.
Oh no, that was more
That's like
recent.
2
Like
years.
the build
2
out,
years
the
ago.
build out here was like 2 weeks ago with the lobby and the sore neck stuff. That was only like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like 2015 maybe when he like started putting up when they like redid the gym area and back.
Okay, yeah.
And like put up the plywood and like patch the holes. Started getting more NFL guys out and that type of.
Yeah.
And I remember Dave saying, "Well, I'll put some lipstick on this pig."
Yeah.
And then we put plywood on the walls. I thought, well, you're right. Now it's a classy joint.
Yeah.
We still do that every year. We have to dress something up before combine season every single year.
Yeah. No, there you go.
So you've been here a while.
No, it's only been a couple hours.
No. You've been here since like 2010, or you know.
2010.
What was your what were you doing? You were trying to weight lift, and you were what were you doing? In
What happened?
2010?
So
yeah,
I was teaching PE,
okay,
and I had a CrossFit gym, and I was doing CrossFit, having a good time, but I always really liked lifting. Like I like snatch and clean and jerk. I was familiar with those in high school. I had a strength coach in track that actually taught us like not great technique, but like I knew the difference between a hang snatch and a snatch and a power clean and a split jerk and whatever. Like I knew the lifts. I was familiar with them.
While we're on track and weightlifting, track's got like a pretty cool like relationship with Olympic weightlifting. It's like because they're both Olympic sports, they kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's from like ancient Russian books. I know there's like, what's that guy's name that inspired all that?
Dostoevsky?
I'm not prepared to talk about Anna Karenina. Okay.
Thank God.
I haven't read Anna Karenina.
The guy, he had Scott showed me this video of this massive Russian dude. He's doing these weird jumps. He does Olympic, I don't know, but they have throwers like to weightlift. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Throwers like to weightlift. Did you see the girl jerk 400 pounds?
Oh, yeah.
Mary. Coach Mary.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how good it was?
It was really good.
Yeah.
But I don't think she can clean anywhere near that.
No, not
I
yet.
think her clean's 170 is
Are
her
you
best.
fucking serious?
I think so.
She's working on her snatch.
Really good.
Yeah.
She's very new.
She's fucking strong.
But that jerk is like that's right
heavy.
there at the world record.
That's
clean
heavy.
and jerk. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was when we came back from Worlds? Yeah, for the women. I told you.
Man, I don't know the recent one, but I know I've seen Tatiana do 193.
Which one's Tatiana?
The Russian.
The Russian girl.
Super.
So she's interesting. So she's.
But this is before the.
And she
weight
snatches
classes have
150
changed.
over 150.
Yeah.
Interesting with her is I had heard someone told me that they had heard like legit, like not just like people say shit, like you know someone who like knows like whatever. Anyway, that she like hadn't missed a snatch in training in 10 years. It was like one of those things where it's like she started, I think, when she was relatively young, and her coach, and it was like you stay within it type deal, and you just as you like slowly build over time, and the technique is so ingrained, and you just like, but yeah, she hasn't missed a snatch in training in like 10 years.
You don't have to miss to learn, honestly.
Yeah, but you know what? What am I gonna say? Obviously, it works.
It's hard to know if you're lifting heavy enough, though. It's hard to know if you're pushing yourself if you're not missing.
So when it's heavy, like anything over 95%, or anything over 90%, feels like a different sport than things that are say under 80%.
Yeah, your body you react to that
sport.
differently. You approach that differently.
Right, and it feels like your body. You have to do things different. Right? Like you have to activate differently. It's entirely different.
Right.
And so I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how someone could do that. You know?
Well, because one idea for training is basically
she's good.
Yeah, but you can do a bunch of, you can repeat 85, 90% a bunch of times, and that moves your top end. and you're like, just because you get stronger, you know, that number, your percent goes up.
Yeah, like the daily
so
minimums.
you move the needle
Yeah.
and hang out at 90%, and you're moving the needle from there, and you don't try 100% until you get to the meet.
An example of that in America here is Ian Wilson. So he started lifting when he was like 10 years old, but his dad was like coaching him, and what he had him do when he was a kid especially is he couldn't open in a meet with a weight until he made it 10 times in one training session.
Wow.
Right? And so he would, whatever it was, say it was 100 kilos, whatever, he'd have to snatch 100 kilos. And if he made it 10 times in one session, then he could open with it in the next meet. Right? And that's how
a tough standard.
And he was like
Funny
that,
story about
and he did
Ian
that
Wilson.
for years.
Yeah.
Like that was the standard for a long time until he the guy he won youth worlds when he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And and that type of thing. And so up until then, that's kind of how it worked. And so he was big on the daily minimums, especially later in his career. So that's what he would do is every day, 6 days a week, whatever, he would snatch 160. And if he made it 10 days in a row, whatever, then he'd go to 161.
Yeah.
And if he had 10 consecutive days in a row, then it was 162.
Right.
So that's that daily, that idea of if you're just always making 90%, then the top line
that is a very
should be moving
Bulgarian,
up. 100%.
old school.
Absolutely.
One of the most incredible snatch sessions I've ever watched. When I was training at Delta Weightlifting in Sacramento, Ian ended up coming in to lift, and he was snatching, and I think he came in and said I might go up to 140 or something. I don't feel very good. He had just driven in to sack, and he ends up hitting I think 152, and then he proceeds to miss 157 maybe 4 times behind. Gets upset, puts on 162. Misses that a couple times, and then goes 167 and fucking crushes it. It was insane. And all these were good misses. He's the positions are right. Yeah, it's usually behind. I mean, there's maybe 1 or 2 of the fucking 8 misses that were in front, but just the confidence
Hadn't
of
made a lift in 20 kilos.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just crushes 167. I was just well, if I could train like that, I probably still wouldn't. Yeah. But wow, that was incredible.
Well, that's incredible, and it's also that's a short path to shoulder surgery.
Yeah. Did he have? I thought he just had issues with his knees. Did he have issues with his shoulders?
Yeah, he had some shoulder surgery.
Oh, okay.
Too. Yeah.
Just
not just him. I'm in general. For anybody that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Ian was part of that. Really fun. It was 2012 National Championships. National Championships was at the Arnold, right?
Okay,
They're the same time. And so because it was an Olympic year, and so they had nationals earlier, so they're gonna do it in March, and so they did it with the Arnold.
Yeah.
And so it was John North and Ian Wilson and Phil Sabatini.
It was a 94 session.
So it was 94 session.
That sounds
probably
awesome.
Dave Garcia was a 94 at the time.
I think it was 105 at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so these guys, how it went down basically in the end, John obviously snatched 15 kilos more than both these guys.
Yeah.
And Ian was young. Ian was 17 at the time, maybe 19 at the time, young guy, whatever, and then and John's coming off of being national champ too, Anyway, so they go and so then John finishes a clean and jerks. The other guy still have a few lifts left, which is pretty standard. And so then anyway, Phil comes in, then he ties John's total, clean and jerks enough to tie.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was just the lighter person. It wasn't who made it first. It was body weight.
Body weight. Yeah.
And he weighed less than John. So he hit the tying total and took first place. And John out of clean and jerk, so he's okay. Now he's getting second.
Yeah.
And then Ian Wilson comes out and ties the total.
Oh, and he's lighter.
Oh
my gosh.
And so he won. And so first, second, third place, they all had the same total, and it was all on body weight. And so when Ian made that last clean and jerk, that was there's these pictures of the Doherty brothers. They're 7 feet in the air. In the background, hands up type thing, his coaches. But yes, there's a 3-way tie for first place.
That'd be the
and
most
Ian was
hype
one of
session
them.
to watch.
I kind of like that body weight rule. I wish it was still around.
It was interesting for sure. Well, so now in current rules, if that same thing happened, John would have won because he made it first.
Yeah. Well, Phil would have put 1 kilo more.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly that's what I'm saying. So Phil didn't win. But then the question is is he good for 1 more
Would he have made
kilo?
it?
I don't
Would he
know.
have made it? Yeah.
Probably, but maybe not. And Ian, that was a PR for Ian, I think, at the time, whatever. Because also, John did 180. These guys had to do fucking over 190 or right around there. Or John, something like that, right? So it was there's a big gap between what he did and what they had to do.
Phil's still in the game, dude.
I was just gonna say,
he's still doing that same trick with Rob
Yeah.
every meet.
Yeah.
Like Rob will snatch the house, and then Phil has to try to come back in the clean jerk, and they've been going at it since John left off. I think,
Oh, my
Phil
goodness.
Sabatini's career, just in general, as a weightlifter, as an athlete, is the most impressive thing.
he's been battling.
Well, he stopped.
Yes,
He stopped for a
battles.
couple years when he had his kid. So I remember at this meet, he was actually telling John, he's like, "Yeah, man, after this, I'm gonna be done for a little while."
Yeah,
Because I think he's had a baby, and this is whatever, put in his business, but I mean, I think it's fine. Now, he had a baby, and then they're like, I think it was in the NICU or something, right? The intensive care, like it had some issues, and he's like, you know what, like it's just not important right now, so I'm actually gonna kind of like go in like retirement, like I'm not gonna really lift anymore. I'm just gonna like be home with my wife and help the baby and like this type of thing.
Yeah.
And so for a couple years, that's what he did. And then he's like, boom, came back full force,
I'm still
like
here.
crushing it again.
I'm still fucking here. Yeah, he's
how old is he?
30, at
So,
least
yeah,
35.
I think
He just made a video. I think he's kind of
I think
promoting East Coast Gold in his
he might be old. I'm
programming.
36. I think he's older than me.
Yeah, he might be 37.
Yeah.
He's everybody's dad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
So so I got exposed to weightlifting and track.
Yeah.
In high school. And then I got exposed. Someone showed me CrossFit. And what I liked about it is that it felt like wrestling practice. Like it was really fucking hard. But also that they had snatches and cleans and power cleans and all the stuff that I liked that I didn't like, that I didn't really see a lot of other places type of deal. So then I liked snatch, clean, and jerk, and I would do it more than other stuff. It was like, oh, if I was just doing something for fun, I would do some of that. And then in my garage, actually, I was like, I want to get better at this. Yeah. And so what I did was every Sunday I would do a weightlifting workout, and I would do 10 lifts actually. So I started in the snatch, it was like 185 pounds, I think is what I started with, and 225 clean and jerk or something. And what I did is I did 10 on the minute. I did one snatch every minute on the minute for 10 minutes at 185 pounds. And I did clean and jerks, and I'll like rest between them, whatever. I would do like 20 minutes straight. But same thing with 225 clean and jerks. And then I would like go like do some sprints at the park by my house. It's like great Sunday kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the next week I would just add 5 pounds. And so I did that for like whatever, like
5 years.
Yeah. So now you're snatching 225
700.
kilos.
Yeah. So I did that up until I was snatching like 245 every minute on the minute for 10 minutes, and then which is like 110. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, and this is just for fun. You know, like I was just like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. This is whatever, you know. So then there was a USA weightlifting and CrossFit competition. Oh, now I just
hit your mic holder.
It was in Colorado Springs, and so this was an official like USA weightlifting, and this was in 2010. And CrossFit were doing this meet together, and it was you did a regular weightlifting meet, sanctioned weightlifting meet, and then your total was one score, and then you did one CrossFit workout.
Oh.
And then how you placed in that was your other score, and they had overall winners. And so they announced this, and a bunch of people were like, hey, you should do it, whatever. At this point, I hadn't done any weightlifting meets or anything or CrossFit competitions. I was like, oh, I don't know. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever. I've never been to Colorado Springs. It'll be fun. So I was like, well, this weightlifting meet shit's complicated. I was like looking up, like how they work.
Gotta wear a singlet?
And I wrestled. So I was like, I was like, I gotta wear a singlet. It's the opposite. But it was more like, how the fuck does this warm-up thing work? Like I got 3 attempts, and then I do a warm-up, and it's very complicated.
I do one every minute for 10 minutes?
I don't get 10 snatches? I don't understand.
So it was, I should do some local meets before I like go to Colorado and like do this thing. And so then I did the Kono. So it was like, so this meet was in October. So I did a meet in August, local meet in August, local meet in September, and then I went to Colorado in October for that USA weightlifting CrossFit meet.
That's cool.
So then it was the Kono, and then like the Atlas weightlifting meet, which was on a tennis court under these big tents.
Yeah.
At this country club.
That's awesome.
It was like Arden Hills Athletic Club.
Oh, Arden Hills.
Yeah. But it was weird. So like on this tennis court outside, I didn't know anything about weightlifting. I thought it was normal. I'm like, oh, sometimes meets are outside on tennis courts. And like, but like they're fun. I went 6 for 6 in both of the meets, and I met Carrie. Now Carrie Doherty.
Oh yeah.
So,
Shimamura at the time.
But that was my first weightlifting meet. I'm there, and there's other guy who's same shit as me. He owns CrossFit East Sac, Justin. And anyway, he was going to go to this meet and decided he should do a local meet before he goes also. And so went to the Kono. And we're like totally warm. I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready for my first attempt. And no one else has touched a bar. And I'm like, what are they waiting for? Our session starts any minute. Like, I didn't understand how it worked. And so then I saw Carrie was like coaching somebody. I'm like, she looks like she knows what she's doing. So I just went up to her and I said, hey, it's my first meet. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, why isn't anybody else warm? You know? And she's like, well, what are you opening at? And I tell her and she's like, well, that's a terrible idea because there's going to be like 17 people. You're going to have to have so long between your
already
attempts.
ready.
And like, you should like do this instead. I'm like, oh.
Belts on. Your
Yeah.
shoes are tight.
Chalked up.
Oh, I got chalk on my hands.
I just hit my smelling salts. Lady, what are we doing?
And she's like, here, all right, I got what's your name? Danny Lehr. Okay. And she's like, all right, go sit. She's like, go sit down, strip all the weights off your bar, go sit down, and don't do anything until I tell you to. I was like, all right, now we're talking. Got myself a coach.
Yeah.
And then she coached me through the meet like I was her athlete. Like it was like, take this attempt, sit down. She was changing my weights and doing the whole thing. And I had this great experience. Like I was coached by someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And I went 6 for 6. It was good times. So then anyway, so I started really liking weightlifting. I go to Colorado Springs. I do that meet. I didn't have a coach there.
Yeah.
And so I actually talked, I'm not gonna remember her name now. That's not gonna be good. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, she was she was an Olympian and she was there just like helping out.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, can you like help me with my warm-ups?
So the last meet, some stranger just helped me. I was hoping
Carrie helped me 2 meets in a row, so now and the Atlas.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's not gonna be there. And so Natalie, she married the Bergers.
Natalie Bergner.
What was her
Natalie Woolfolk.
Natalie
right?
Woolfolk.
Yeah.
So she was there anyway. So I'm like, hey, and she was like coming off this knee surgery. She had this brace. She's like limping to my bar to change my weights. But she was absolutely amazing, and she like completely like she did the same shit as Carrie. She's like, all right, I got you. Sit down. Don't move. Like this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I did that. Had a lot of fun, and then I came back and went to a Penlay. Penlay was doing a Penlay seminar.
Okay.
So I came to Cal Strength.
Oh,
Did a
that's how
Penlay
you got to Cal
seminar,
Strength.
and I met John and Kevin and Donnie and all these guys, like that whole thing. I didn't really know, like I knew about Cal Strength. I knew like Glenn. That's why I came out here, but I didn't know it was like, you know, what it was or what it was becoming at that time with the YouTube and everything, just like kind of starting up.
Yeah, what was it like training those guys? And like that's kind of the peak of like the YouTube blowing up too, huh?
Yeah.
Like,
Super
what was
intense.
that like?
Always intense.
Okay.
There was no like we're going through the motions.
Yeah.
That did not exist.
Yeah.
It was all intense, and it was the type of motivation that only works if you can take it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which I liked. It didn't bother me. I thrive off that. Again, wrestling as a background is a little more rough than other things.
Yeah.
But there's no like you miss a lift, like you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. It was more like you like tighten up the weights and they're like, what are you doing? Stop wasting everyone's fucking time. You have no chance at making that. Wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. Sit down. Fuck you doing? Right? Like that's how it was all the time. And so then you got to kind of be like, oh, fuck you guys. You know, like whatever I can do, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
spite is such a powerful motivator.
Who was leading? Who was the
Glenn.
So you okay? So Glenn started. Everyone just piled on.
It was a team effort.
Oh, okay.
No, but Glenn did not discourage.
Yeah.
When that type of thing would happen, they'd be like, fuck a chance, and you'd look at Glenn, he'd be like,
well,
yeah, they're probably right. You know? He's like, you better pull it. I'm like, well, I'm planning on pulling
I was
it.
gonna do it.
it's already gonna pull it. God.
I mean, Donnie would pipe up in there. Everybody. Seriously, it was everyone.
Yeah.
Dave was part of that crew too.
What was Dave like
at the
then?
time? Well, there's this.
It's about 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Oh no, like 20. He's done.
Oh, okay.
It's like
This
an inverse
was at the
parabola.
the middle of this sine wave in terms of Dave's weight loss and or gain.
I'll tell. I've said this story before about Dave. There's this kid, Ian Anderson. And he was 17, I think. And he was promising. Like, he was pretty good at the time. Like, pretty good junior lifter. but he was just mentally, he was not very strong. And
Yeah.
so like that environment, he wasn't doing that hot anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember one time, and Dave wouldn't always, I mean, he wasn't the coach at the time, so he
Right.
wouldn't always watch. It was great. Glenn would be coaching. Dave would come out. He'd watch like 3 lifts. And then he was like shake his head and walk away.
Still does that.
Then he'd walk out there, you're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on out here, and go back in. Or like he didn't see, he didn't watch that much training because again, that was Glenn's job, right? But he'd come out and he'd like watch somebody miss 2 times. He doesn't know that this guy just hit a PR before these 2 misses. He'd watch 2 misses and he'd be like, what the fuck? And then he'd leave.
Still happens. Especially to the girls, because he has no he can't keep up with everybody's pros. And he's not like, everyone knows Dave's not a women's weightlifting coach.
No,
it's
yeah.
well known. So
Yeah.
anyways, like Maddie especially, she's just like, Maddie's just straight up pill right now. She's always getting better. So she'll like try a PR and like Dave will, like not really known. Like, and he's like, well, why'd you miss that?
What
like,
the hell was that?
Going. She makes her take it again and again. Okay, down sets, I guess. So now she's getting back up.
Oh my goodness.
Maddie's just trying to hold it together. Dave doesn't understand why she sucks all of a sudden. Because she's at 102%. Doing another round of snatching.
Ian's out there and he misses this lift. And I don't know if Glenn was gone by this time, or maybe he was still there. I think he's still there. Anyway, I remember Dave watched though, and he was all hot and bothered that day about whatever was going on. So before he had kids, so he's a little softer. Maybe it's the one, or he's a little harder.
Yeah.
I know from experience, like since I've had my 2 kids, I'm a little softer than I once. I often think my wrestling teams wouldn't be nearly as good now. I'm way calmer. But so Ian missed this thing, and people are like hyping him up beforehand and everything. And then he like sits down, and Dave goes, "Why are you the worst competitor in the history of the fucking world?" And I'm just like, oh my God, it's like a 17-year-old. That's pretty harsh. And I'm just like, oh man, like that's when, especially when it's, he's not there all the time. He just came out to watch these lifts, and it's like, this is Dave, and then Ian like, drops his head and he goes, "Stop acting disappointed. You're not fooling anybody."
Oh man.
I had to leave. I got up. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of this. I was like, cause I was almost, it was so uncomfortable. I was laughing.
You're supposed to go next.
Yeah. I was like laughing. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I left. I like went out front for like 5 minutes. I didn't take 5 because I was just like so uncomfortable. It was like so far beyond what's considered reasonable. But that was also just like, that's how it was. Like, that's how it was to everybody. It was just, I remember someone passing out on a clean, and everyone just like stood there and watched fall like timber, and like, but there was no like, are you okay?
Man, when I first got here, so Chevy had a little problem with that for a little while. And when I first got here, it was maybe, I've been here for a month or something. Chevy does a great clean, stands it up, and I've never seen this before, but just like timber, falls back, lands
backwards.
completely. Yeah. Just back. And then he's just on the ground. And we had been sharing a bar.
Doing
The
twitch.
Doing the twitch.
If you're
We had been
up,
sharing a
like
bar,
dancing.
so I just walk over there,
Roll the
get
bar
on.
off him.
I get on a knee. I'm trying to take his belt off him. I'm like, Chevy, are you okay? Everyone's standing around like, who the fuck is this guy? What is he doing? Stop it! You're embarrassing yourself. And I quickly learned
if
after.
you leave him alone, he'll come too.
Yeah. Just took a feel for the room and was like, oh, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
We just let Chevy do that, and he'll figure it out on his own. And yeah, it was
Yeah,
I
and
never
there's
made that mistake again.
Yeah, passing out's your fault. Everyone
Yeah.
knows
just
that.
there was lots of yelling, and also this is a Glenn thing. Is he would it's like he picked somebody every day or every session or every now and then where it's like something you're doing he just doesn't like,
Yeah.
and so everyone else is done, but you're not.
You got to work on something.
You got to work on something, but it wasn't ever like said. It was just like, oh, let's do that one again. Oh, let's do that one again. And the next thing you know, like you're the only one still lifting and everyone else is done. And it's just you. And like, let's again. And very valuable coaching lesson is you never tell someone something's right if it's not.
Right.
And Glenn really drove that one home. There was one time there was a girl and she was crying and it was her birthday and she was doing something in the
And it was her birthday. That's nothing
Important.
to do with it. No, that's everything to do
everything
with it.
and it was on her jerk. She wasn't getting her front foot out the right way. And she would do it and be like, again. And then he'd go out there and he'd show her, no, your foot needs to go here. And then he would sit down back behind his computer again. And at the time, he was like live streaming workouts and like typing with people from his computer while people are lifting. And, again, and like tears. And he'd go and fix her foot. And, again. It was like, it went on for like 30 minutes. And then one time with myself, I just realized I was the only one still snatching.
Yeah.
But to Glenn, it wasn't even a snatch, wasn't good enough. And so I do it, and he'd be like, no, you gotta. I wasn't staying over the way he wanted me to or something.
Yeah.
And so we're doing it, and I'm going, and everyone else is done. It's like 30 or 40 minutes of everyone else is done, and I'm snatching, and he was not. He didn't think I was snatching still. And then finally I did what he wanted me to. And I said, yes, there. That very closely resembles what a good snatch should look like.
Do it again.
And I was like, wait, is that? And I started laughing. I'm like, Glenn. And he's like, well, you know what I mean. Like, And I was like, yeah, I guess I know what you mean. Like, it wasn't perfect, but I mean, shit. Like,
They've said that to you today.
he did actually after cleaning. He said, oh, that resembled a snatch. Fuck. So that one was good.
Just say good, please. I'm working so hard.
Yeah, it was. And then there's smoke breaks out back
It's fine.
between snatch and clean and jerk. Guys would hit the alley and smoke some cigs.
So is that
That
is
is
that
very
good?
Bulgarian.
Do you think that's good, or is that not
Cigarettes?
good?
Oh, well, nicotine's a proven like neurogenic
Performance enhancer.
Yeah, for sure. And on the neurological aspect, for sure. Like the rest of like the inhaling, combusting materials is
The flammable,
not
stuff.
good.
So
I
we should
imagine.
be dipping.
Yeah, I suppose. There's, like,
Yeah. You heard it here first, guys. You should be dipping.
So how does that work with the caffeine too? So do you like,
Mhm.
because John was a big proponent of C4
Uh-huh.
coffee
Back when it could
and
White
then,
Monsters.
and then plus cigarettes.
Yeah. So
And-
this was White Monster time too. So you wouldn't come to Friday night, Max Out Friday, unless you had at least two White Monsters.
We
with you.
still do that. I
Because-
had no idea
because-
how we got
I
on
know,
it.
yeah.
But we still will
Yeah,
do
we got to
that.
have one
Yeah.
before snatch.
You got them at the shitty
and you
gas
have one
station?
before a clean and jerk.
Down the street?
And you get them at the shitty gas station down the street. Yeah, walking out of there.
Cal
is
Strength
like-
has been keeping that
Mhm.
place open.
Oh yeah. And then John, so I would also when I was first starting here, whatever, it was like John would just meet me down here, which is funny.
Yeah.
When John would meet me down here to like coach me up on Sundays. No one was here. And it was like, oh yeah, we'll do these training sessions, whatever. And then it would be like 3 hours. He'd have me do like ungodly volume. Like I would do like 3 max out waves in the snatch and in the clean and jerk. And then like we'd go to Starbucks, get another coffee, and come back and do it again. It was like this, like the most absurd. Yeah, because he was like, yeah, more is better, right? Like didn't really
More's
know.
always better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there was lots of that. Lots of that.
That's a good time.
Oh, it was
Fun.
It was lots of fun. It was very interesting.
So how many dudes just on the like day to day? How many guys were in here training? Like,
So most of the time I
regular?
wasn't, so I would come out here, I was teaching, but over spring break, because I didn't have kids yet. So over spring break, I would just come out, I would just do this full time. I'd come
Right.
out and I'd do the 2 days and just be here, basically live here for that week. That's how I spent like my spring breaks and
Yeah.
my Christmas breaks and stuff, And then I would come out every Friday night, but like every Friday night I would
Yeah.
come for max out and then I would train the rest of the time like at home.
yeah.
But I mean, I think there was, eight or so guys. I mean, the core kind of there is like, I mean, Rob had like just kind of started.
Mhm.
And then there was like Spencer, John, Kevin,
Oh yeah,
Donnie. And then like at different times, like this guy, Chris Goot was in and out over time.
Chris Goot was good. He was a muscle driver.
He was fantastic. Scott Hisaka was here on the same time Rob kind of started lifting around here is when Scott kind of started. So there's like everyone did. Tom Soroka came out at one point. So not all these people overlapped, but these were all like part of. I think at one time they were all here.
Right.
So I think
remember
they
a YouTube
over.
video of
I
Jared
should say
Anderson.
they overlapped, but they weren't all here at the same for the same periods of time. Jared Anderson was out for a while. Caleb Ward,
Yeah.
who's an American record holder, and then Spencer broke his American record. Like the clean and jerk, the junior clean and jerk American record was by a Cal Strength guy for years and years. Might still be actually, but it was
It's probably locked in.
Caleb had it for a long time.
203, Caleb.
Caleb had it, and then Spencer broke it
Mhm.
in like 2011. But yes, so the biggest thing was people talk about things like it's in the walls. It was just expectations.
Right.
So like when I started like out here, like John just won nationals, Donnie just won nationals, Spencer was, junior national champ, junior worlds, all that shit. And Kevin was, top 5, top 3 medaling at nationals. And so it's just expected.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're gonna lift at the American Open, you're gonna lift at nationals. Like you're on this training on this team, you're gonna be good.
Right.
Like it's just, there's no like, I hope one day I can qualify for the American Open, or one day I can lift in a national meet.
Yeah.
It was actually laid out for me. They said, okay, here we go. So this was like whatever, like March or something. And remember, I'm like, have done like 3 weightlifting meets ever. Like, okay, so you're going to qualify for the American Open this year, and you're going to go lift and have fun. That's in December. And then you're going to qualify for nationals next year, and then you can go lift and have fun. Then you're going to go to the American Open and like place top 10. Then you're going to go to nationals and place top 10. And then after that, we start medaling at things.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And that's just, this is the path you're on.
Yep.
And so I went to that first American Open, and I was in Mobile, Alabama. And I lifted and had fun, and then but I just lifted unattached or whatever. Like this was like I was training with a team though, and so then
they didn't want you to be.
Well, I was just
was there
most of the time, like for most that year, I was just kind of like lifting with John, and then like I'd come to Friday nights, but it was like a slow. It wasn't like eventually they're like, hey, just Glenn, just come lift with the team on Friday nights, whatever, you know. But before that, I was just kind of like in and out,
just kind of around.
Yeah.
Just kind of around.
Yeah.
I was just like hanging around, and like you need to like lift with us more. So then after that meet, Glenn's like, why are you unattached? I was like, no one told me to do anything because I
don't know what that means.
Because a year ago when I signed up for USA weightlifting, I was unattached.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to. I'll talk to Dave, but like. You got 10th. I think you would have got some team points. Like, what the fuck, I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, of course, I think it's probably only 10 people.
Yeah.
At that time, but whatever. Anyway, so then that was kind of that. And then after that, he's like, yeah, I definitely need to switch over to be on Cal Strength. And they go, and then plus, like, now you're on Cal Strength, like, you don't have to pay for flights or hotels anymore, and
that's awesome.
You're all set.
Good deal.
Don't worry, you'll get your itinerary 2-3 days before your flight leaves. And
maybe
that sounds cool.
Yeah,
like a good time.
Yep.
So then it was just a Cal Strength team, and then when did you meet? Like, when did Charlie and Dean and Caffeine and Kilos come in? When did how'd that happen?
So I was lifting for Cal Strength, lifting all the local meets.
Dominating.
I did over. So in the 5 years I lifted, I did like 25 weightlifting meets.
Yeah.
Right. So I would do
5 a year.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do like three or 4 local meets, and then I would do American Open and nationals. Right. And so I did that kind of every year basically. And so I was doing all these local meets and stuff. And so Charlie had this gym in Elk Grove, and he would do some local meets every now and then. But it was just kind of a CrossFitter. I didn't really know that much about weightlifting, but he was like getting after it, having a good time, nice guy.
Yeah.
And so we were just kind of acquaintances. And then he knew I was part of the Cal Strength team and doing that whole thing. And so he just called me out of the blue. I don't know how
he's that kind of guy.
I don't know how he had my number. He's like, I think he actually said, he's like, hey, it's Charlie from like Warriors. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? He's like, yeah, I had to call someone to get your number. I go. So what's
Found
up?
you in the phone
People
book.
used to do that though.
Yeah.
That was normal.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You had
I want to call this guy, whatever.
Right.
And
They wasn't really texting yet. Like now you'd like fill that out with a text. You'd be like,
yeah.
You find him on
maybe
Instagram first.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
DM.
Maybe a DM.
DM.
Yeah.
That's today you'd probably just DM him.
A soft entry.
Mm-hmm. No, he
Probably just went full
hard entry. Yeah. And so forced, some would say. So he just called, was like, hey man, I got this idea. Like let's get every living Olympian, because he knew I had connections in weightlifting. It's kind of the whole thing. He's like, I want to get every living Olympian to lift in this meet. I'm like, Charlie, if you've seen some of these living American Olympians, I'm not sure this plan is really like if they're up to the challenge.
He's an idea guy though.
He
like
is.
What an idea.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so that was kind of how the company started, basically, is he would have this completely fucking impossible, he'd be like, we're going to the moon. And I'd be like, oh, dope. The moon sounds cool. do you have a rocket ship? They'd be like, no, but I know somebody who has a really nice airplane. I'm like, okay, we could start there. Do we know anybody that has like some rockets we could strap on it? He's like, oh yeah, you know what? I think I got to hook up some rockets. And I'm like, all right. Dean, what's this ship gonna look like? He's like, well, we're gonna need to place the rockets here. That's kind of how it went. So I'm like, well, this idea is awful, but there's something there. Like, what can we actually do that makes sense? I said, what if we just get like the best lifters in the country out? And he's like, oh, that'd be cool. How do we do that? I was like, well, no one's paying shit. So if we have a cash prize and if we give them a crowd, that'd be really good because 2012 or 2013 national championships was in a skating rink.
Yeah.
And
Skate Town, USA.
Skate Town, USA in Westchester, Ohio.
Yeah, that was
We had
fun.
one of those in Knoxville.
And so I said, I think a crowd of people that know what a snatch is and some money. I bet we could get the best lifters in the country out here.
Yeah.
And lifting I knew a lot of them. I was like, I'll just call these people. I know them because there's only so many people that lift at nationals, especially at the time. And so it wouldn't be hard to get a hold of these people. Everyone kind of knows each other and and being on Cal Strength obviously helps as far as, knowing people and reaching out to people and stuff. I said, yeah, sounds great. I said, okay, well, how? He's like, we'll get sponsors to pay the cash prize. Okay, great. We're going to need a venue and a crowd. So we'll do a CrossFit style competition. And then they know what clean and jerks are. They can hang out and watch the invite only meet. And we'll have a team competition. And so then we can use the money from those CrossFit teams to pay for the venue. And then we'll get a sponsor to pay the cash prize.
Yeah.
And there we go. And so we went and looked at it. And then like on a whim, and then Dean went to Charlie's gym and they were friends. And he had this little like underground clothing company going. And that kind of comes in the story
Dean's
a little bit
cool
later.
guy.
But, yeah, Dean's, yeah.
Dean is,
Dean's great.
he's with it, man.
Dean's
He's the
always
hippest.
Although me and
like-
Dean, he doesn't really mess with me no more though.
He what?
He don't like me no more though.
Why is that?
Remember I made him mad at the
That's why I was thinking
Like,
made Dean mad.
Me and Dean are kind of rivals now.
Dean
I
can
don't,
be mad.
I don't think so. It's a one side. Wes thinks they're rivals, but Dean has no idea what he's talking about. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I can't even remember. I had some kind of drink or something that wasn't one of the Caffeine and Kilo sponsors, and Dean's like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
So then I acted like he just got so upset, and I just made it out to Dean.
That's
Dean,
what
I'm
it
so
was.
sorry, bro.
I was telling Dean how mad he was at me in the car, and just pissing him off.
And he's like, "What are you doing?" Yeah.
You do that.
I do that.
Well, so we have what it was is Caffeine and Kilos. We have a good relationship with Fit8. Like we've done a lot together. We know the owners of the company. We're friends. We have like this working relationship with them. And so like at our booth at the CrossFit Games, we don't want to be drinking other like canned beverages just like openly in the booth. Like it's just kind of not. It's one of those things. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like if you don't drink
A
it.
business faux pas, if you will.
Yeah, and so it's like in the back where no one can see you, whatever. But like in walking around in the booth when people are showing up and taking pictures and doing stuff like this, like if we're drinking a canned beverage, it should be like.
So
a
you're
Fit8,
dumping
right?
out Fit Aids and filling up with wine.
Yeah, he's like, hey, what's up? He's like handing them out. He's like, who wants a Kill Cliff shower?
God, I just love Kill Cliff.
Yeah. It wasn't even Kill Cliff though. I think it was something else.
Yeah,
it was like
it was
the
Red Bull. Ride the bull.
O2s maybe or something.
I don't even know.
Yeah, anyway, and he's like, hey man, make sure you're not drinking that in the booth. Like, make sure you're drinking it back. And Wes is like,
Wes.
oh, I fucked up. You hate me. You hate me now. And Dean's like, nah, man, just like, just make sure you like drinking him back. And he's like, oh.
What have I done?
All the way home in the car, we're going to the grocery store, and I'm just poking the bear.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Dean, I wish you weren't so mad at me, man.
You do that, man. That is your MO.
That was fantastic. And he came straight from South America,
Yeah.
straight from the Pan Am's win.
Yeah, that was a fun.
That was a fun little couple
That was
days.
a fun little couple days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dean's a
So
real
that's-
cool guy.
Yeah, Dean's great. So we said, okay, we need a venue before we so this is all like an idea. But well, we're not going to start getting teams to sign up before we know the venue. We gotta have that. And we can't invite these weightlifters to come out unless we have the venue. So we're like, oh, let's go look at this place. Might be nice. And then the guy had a date open that was 10 weeks away. We're like, well, that's kind of close, but I think we can do it. And he's like, all right, well, I just got to put down a deposit of like $7,000. And we're like, oh, this is just something we had been talking about. I was like, all right, well, here's a credit card.
Oh,
And because I knew,
stings.
I was like, well, we knew if we only get whatever, 20 teams to sign up, it'll pay for it. And we're like, yeah, we can get 20 teams. We can get 20 teams, you know?
But you
And
all have
so-
gyms, so it's pretty, like, encourage your own members. to-
Right.
Yeah.
Charlie owned a gym.
Yeah.
I owned a gym. And we knew, you know, my gym's been open since 2008, like
Yeah.
pretty early on. We kind of knew all the gym owners in the area. We're
Right.
like, we could get scrape together 20 teams.
And
I just,
competing in CrossFit was just like
It was
starting
like
to
a
get
big
really
thing.
cool and
Mhm.
really.
and I was
big.
like, I just won't tell my wife, you know, 'cause it's a personal credit card I'm doing this on. Because we didn't there was no business yet. This was just an
Yeah.
idea.
Mhm.
Anyway, and then that was kind of it. And that was like how the whole
What
thing
year was
started.
this? 2012.
2013.
2013. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say the first Caffeine and Kilos I went to was 15. It was in like an airplane hangar.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be a hangar, then it was like a conference center.
Yeah.
So
And then it
before
was
that,
at
we were like
the-
a couple doors down. It was like a sports venue. So they had like the sport floor, like the tiles that go together, like the
Oh,
plastic
yeah,
ones, for,
yeah.
like volleyball courts.
Yeah.
So we had people out there doing like cleans, not the weightlifting meet, we had platforms, but like the CrossFit competition. They're like doing cleans and shit on like this volleyball sport court, the tiles. Yeah, it was great. It was fun.
Man, when I got invited to my first Caffeine and Kilos invitation, I felt really cool.
I mean, it's
when you guys DM'd me, I was
it's the most exclusive.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the invite session, the most exclusive session in weightlifting, probably.
I wasn't in a good spot to, because you had the prizes, but I was still gonna have to get there from Tennessee.
Mhm.
Tennessee to California is a pretty big ticket.
What year was
Like
your
you'd
first
had to-
one then?
you'd had to
15?
win.
I think it was probably 15.
15.
I got the invite.
If
Yeah.
you'd have won,
Late
you would have.
14.
If you'd have got first, for sure, you'd have
Yeah.
walked away with money. But it's like, okay, like you
But
with the travel and everything, it's like, okay, you either get first in this,
yeah,
or it's gonna cost me.
Yeah.
but I really wanted to do it. I felt really cool that I got invited. So-
Well, since then, you've been invited every year.
yeah, I've been coming too.
I know.
We have a good time.
That's always a good.
It's
Time.
a fun meet.
Yeah.
I like the last one we did was like they did like a round robin session almost. So the
For the
girls
invite,
went,
yeah.
The Doherty.
and then the guys and it was just like you just like revolving
Oh, yeah.
attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it's something a little different.
That was the year before last because I missed the last one, didn't I?
I think so. Yeah, because
Last one was in Sac
Mhm.
under the freeway.
Jake
Yeah.
went to that one.
So and then a couple cow strength girls won.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Talk about Skate Town USA Nationals being
yeah.
Skate Town. What was fun about that is that was one of the flights to Westchester, Ohio, because you're flying to Cincinnati, which the Cincinnati airport's in Kentucky. There's a lot going on back there.
Yeah, there's something.
And so he's like, it's on the other side of the river. It's in Kentucky. So getting the flights out there is not a whole lot of direct flights, you know, San Francisco to Westchester.
No.
Anyway, so calisthenics all split up into like groups and pairs. It's like me and Scott Hisaka were traveling together. Everyone's like, there's you two, you three. Like that's kind of how
Yeah.
Stay together.
and everyone's showing up at different times. And so we were like the last people going out. And so Dave picks us up at the airport in the rental car, you know, about an hour after we're waiting on the curb. And he eventually
That's
got us.
it?
He eventually got us.
That's pretty good.
And then go straight to the venue to get shake off the flight lifting that night.
yeah.
And everyone else pretty much clearing out. It's just us. And we're just move a little bit. And then it happens. Black lights come on, the lights go off, the strobe lights start going. It was like the couple skate or whatever.
nice.
Like they have like
They
the
still
like the
have their
black light
skating, even though they're hosting the
like the
oh
black
my
light bowling.
gosh, yeah.
It was like the black light bowling. It was like the black light skating thing. Like it was that night. Like it must be every Wednesday night or Thursday night, or it must have whatever day we came in. And the Thursday, whatever's like, every Thursday night from 9 to midnight's the thing. And so at 9 o'clock, fucking the lights cut and all the way, and the music starts playing, and like Scott, and we're like, we only had a few more lifts,
Yeah.
and we're like, actually, this is kind of cool. And so we finished our little warm up lift under like the couple skate
Disco lights.
disco lights,
man.
yeah.
I remember seeing in the warm up area, which was just like in the corner. to
Yeah,
the
there
left
was
of the platform.
there was like police barricades.
yeah,
Like road-
like Jersey barriers.
Uh-huh.
I remember seeing in the warm up room, they had, I don't know where they got the equipment from, but there was a 24 kilo plate and it was purple and it was labeled with like someone with a green marker wrote 24 kg and taped that piece of paper to this plate. Just so you could know that it's somewhere in between a 20 and a 25. and this plate is like purple.
my
I don't
God.
know where they got the plates from.
Is just one, or was there a pair?
I'm sure there was a pair.
The
I
other one was
wasn't
just
lifting.
somewhere else.
My girlfriend at the time
Yeah.
was lifting in the weight, and I was still so new to weightlifting that I was like, I guess this is a thing. You know, there's 24 kilo plates, and that national meets are in skate rinks.
Yeah. Well, they
That's
were.
what it is.
And then Sunday night, as a team, Spencer won. And anyway, as a team, we wanted to, celebrate Sunday night at the end of the big meet. But then it's Sunday in Ohio, and there's a booze thing going on. Like you can't get it after a certain time. And so Dave gave us the keys to the rental van, and we drove to Kentucky.
You always
Where
get
there are
booze
no
in
rules.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we drove all the way to Kentucky to go through a drive-through liquor store. It was like it was the most
They're-
convenient situation and the most inconvenient situation.
They're living in 2030 over there.
Yeah, it's like
in
you
Kentucky.
gotta cross state lines, but then you don't have to get out of the car.
Yeah,
It's quite convenient.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
that's a trade I'd be willing to
So
take.
that's the that's Cal Strength right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sad I didn't get to experience all that.
Yeah, it was
Excitement.
it was unique.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
So
It was fucking wild though.
Where were we on the? I've heard some wild stories.
Yeah.
They're not mine to tell.
There's a few that I thought about when you asked about it that I'm keeping in.
We'll have to have Rob on, see if we can.
Yeah, I know.
Suck
He
some
might
out.
he might
Let
open
one
some
go?
doors. He might let one go.
So where were
Rob's involved in some of the fist fights.
Yeah, Rob seems like he could, now he's grown up,
Yeah.
but
He's got a
I
child
feel like,
now.
I feel like Rob could throw
He
some
can hold
hands,
his own.
you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
for
Well, him and
sure.
John fought.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of inter squad.
Oh, the fist fights in training were like they were between teammates. That's how that went down. Oh, yeah.
Entirely inter squad. Never with random people.
Nope. No. Yeah. Oh yeah.
we're a lot. We've calmed it down. We've chilled it out.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's not like one was better or worse or whatever. Like very, very different. Back then it was funny. It was like Cal Strength was stuck in like 1993. You know what I mean? It was just 20 years later.
Yeah.
But it was like this little pocket of San Ramon where like guys were still like just
Smoking
outside banging
cigarettes,
heaters
yeah.
between snatches and and it was different.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fun. So we were somewhere with Caffeine and Kilos, and we made it back to the skate rink.
So then we said, well, so around the same time we were gonna do this competition, Charlie made this like a little shirt. He's gonna make a shirt on Shirt Press just for himself. And he
Okay.
posted a picture of it, and it was like my life. And it had a guy lifting weights and a cup of coffee. He's like, hey, I want one of these. I'm gonna make one. Who else wants one? And there's just like overwhelming like
You
people
guys need to
saying-
make that shirt, dude.
Yeah.
right
bring
now.
it back.
We should.
Like,
Actually, we have a picture
Caffeine
of it.
Kilos Origin
Yeah.
T-shirt, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like shitty. It's perfect, actually, And so, so then there's overwhelming response, and then he's talking to Dean because Dean had this like underground. He would like get these jean jackets and like get all these patches on them,
Really
and it was
cool
like selling
shit.
them on eBay, like doing like cool shit that I didn't even know people
Like
did.
Supreme before Supreme was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was all like you do like custom made, high end, made to order jean jackets.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and shit like that.
Shit that we're not cool enough to pull off. But
Yeah.
someone like Dean,
Yep.
100%.
For sure. And so he was talking to Dean, and they were talking about it and like whatever. And then caffeine and kilos, caffeine and kilograms, coffee, like whatever, like this idea.
Mm.
And
Coffee
then
and Kilos works too.
coffee and kilos. And then
Caffeine
they
and
stuck
nicotine also works.
Yeah, for sure. And then they saw caffeine and kilos. And Dean had the idea for the design and all this. And then this was like almost a separate idea, right? But at this point, I'm talking to Charlie for like a couple hours at a shot every week or so, like talking about them anyway. And so I'm sitting there looking at my phone. I have all the workouts for the CrossFit part of the Caffeine Kilos Invitational. And I'm like, man, the name, what are we going to name this event? And then I was like, it just hit me. I'm like, it's the same idea. It's Caffeine and Kilos. It's Caffeine and Kilos Invitational. And as that's going through my mind, my phone screen changes to like a phone call.
Yeah.
And it's Charlie, and I answer it. He's like, hey, I got it. I was like, you got what? He's like, I know what we're going to call the meet.
Shut up.
And I was like, the Caffeine Kilos Invitational. He's like, yes, that's it. And so like, no shit. It was like that brain shit, Like, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not exactly like, I was thinking I'm like looking at my phone, looking at the workouts and going, it's the same idea. This is the Caffeine and Kilos meet. And it rings, and that's what he's calling to tell me. And so I was like, well, that's a sign,
Do you know Coral
It's
can do
positive.
that too? I learned this on the David Blaine and Joe Rogan podcast.
Coral.
Yeah,
They have,
Coral.
like,
Hold up. David Blaine
communicate?
has a podcast?
No.
No,
David
David
was
Blaine
on
was
Rogan's.
on Rogan.
Oh, man.
David Blaine was he wanted to talk
He flew
about.
over Arizona holding on to balloons.
Yep.
Yeah, that was what
that.
he was promoting, I think, on this show. What a crazy
Miley
dude.
Cyrus is on Rogan.
I know. I
I
started
haven't
that one
listened
this
to it yet.
morning.
Mm.
It's interesting. She sounds
Like
her
Miley
voice
Cyrus.
got really deep and raspy.
Oh yeah. Well, that makes sense because her and Wiz Khalifa are real good friends.
There it is.
Probably got some smoke damage.
Yeah. David Blaine was like telling
Also smoke damage.
some beautiful quote about Coral that he wanted to share, and I can't remember it because I don't have a great memory.
Man,
but
He
the
spent
Coral
all night remembering this quote just so
the
someone
Coral
could take it
all
away.
talk, and the Coral the same type. They all are in tune with each other, and when it's time to breed to make more coral, they all do it at the same time because all the I guess they have semen. The semen can only live like 30 minutes or something.
So it's like fuck 30.
but all of them,
Set your
It's
clocks.
a wild.
all of them do it at the same time.
It's an orgy.
And you can even have one like in a bucket, in a house, some random place, not in the ocean, and,
Oh, and it
it's
syncs
likely
up.
to do it too.
Well, that you know what else?
Wow.
This is like this is
And it changes. It's not even the same time every year. It's just one random
Wow.
spot, and they all do it, and it changes every year, and
All
it
right.
doesn't matter where it is, and all the same type
There-
do it.
I believe this, and it's weird as shit. But you know what else?
That's what you
I
and
also,
Charlie did.
that's what me and Charlie did.
Hmm.
We're
Breeding
coral
at the same
coral
time.
orgy 30. You know, dude, it's all right. So it's always weirded me out how women, how their menstrual cycles sync up.
Yeah.
Like that's weird.
1 week a month here is the worst week of everyone's life.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah,
like
like if
when I
they're
was
best
at-
friend, they're best friend. These 3 girls, if they're all best friends, like all of a sudden they all start cycling at the same time.
Yeah.
We don't even show up.
It's
that
like
week
how
because-
weird is that though? Like what the fuck is that? I don't understand it. And then like it doesn't make sense.
Why would you even that does it for even survival's sake? I don't feel like it's good that you all do it at the same time.
Yeah, that leaves you vulnerable
It does.
You would
as a
think-
crew.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Or maybe that's when
Can't hide.
maybe that's the week you raid.
Like-
There's so many things I want to
You
say right now.
you take the whole tribe and you go raiding that
Yeah.
week. You don't have to do
Oh,
just
yeah.
men. You can bring the women
Oh
because
yeah.
they're all
Blood
that's
will
right.
be shed.
Yeah, blood will be
It is-
shed. That's for certain. That's one thing for certain. Also,
I don't want to just leave. I think I have to
there's
go.
a lot of things. There's a lot of things I want to say right now.
I
I'm
know,
not
it's
doing
like,
it. I'm
everything
not doing
is.
it.
Can I say it? I don't think I can.
No, my filter's pretty rough. I have these beliefs that are like very loosely based on science. That like I don't understand it. I'm not claiming I understand all these things, but like as far as like the communicating without talking and like I just say brain shit. Like that's my technical term
Yeah.
for it. Brain shit.
That's scientific.
Yeah. So my theories are, and I'm sure like a real scientist is going to tell me like, oh, well, all your theories based on these things
Are
that you
correct.
think are facts are completely infactual, but your overall theory is correct. So like we don't actually exist, right? Like we're more space than not space.
Us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything, right? Like atoms. So like atoms are more not atoms, but atoms.
Atoms.
Atoms. There's like
There's space in between them.
there's all the space. The electrons are all flying around in this like empty space. It's really like a ball of energy, right?
So there's
Called
no
a valence
solids.
shell.
What's it called?
A valence shell.
There you go. What was your major in school?
Electrical engineering.
Which one?
Oh, good. You can maybe help with this. Oh, what else you got?
Music, composition.
That one help us.
Jake's
Yeah.
been,
My brother's
Jake's been
a
learning for a
Mechanical
decade, bro.
engineering.
My-
I'm still in school.
My brother's a music composition major.
Oh, there you go.
I have a cousin who had like 3 or 4 degrees and then like decided he should like get a job. But he's like
Jake
physics.
has
I'm on
3/4
that-
and 4 degrees.
I'm on that verge.
He has like it's like he has a bachelor's in art, but then a doctorate in physics.
Yeah.
It's like the most
I
bizarre.
have an,
Like the music
I have an
and math.
associate's in like
Yeah.
drum set performance.
Yeah.
It's a $60,000 piece of paper that says I can play the drums. So,
Yeah.
it's really great. Yeah, let's celebrate those kinds of things.
Yeah. Where's my paper?
If there's one joke that can be told, it's
Yeah.
that one.
So the shell thing. So there's more space in atoms than there is material,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So with that, knowing that, we're more empty space than we are actual like physical things, right?
Mhm.
And so like when you touch something, you're not really touching it.
Yeah, you're touching
Space.
the electron
You're
shell.
touching
around
the electron shell,
Okay.
right? So your body is just made of electron shells, essentially, right?
Yeah,
and so
everything.
like And then brain waves are electrical pulses, and it's hormones that travel that bridge synapse gaps, right?
Okay.
So if it's really just like hormones that bridge these gaps, that like shoot between things, and then also there's electrical impulses that also connect things with brain waves, right? So if that's all happening, why do we think that these like electrical impulses like and thoughts and hormones, all that stuff, like why does our like skin and like skull, like our soft tissue, our bodies, which is more empty space than not, like why would that contain that?
Consciousness.
Right. So
It's like a cell phone. It's wireless.
Why do you think your consciousness is only like, why does that
A
stay
landline.
inside your head?
Why would
right?
it be
Like,
a landline? It should be a cell phone.
It is. I think it is, right? So like,
it's like
do you know what I'm saying?
beaming to a satellite almost.
No,
that
it's just
these-
beaming out everywhere.
Well,
I know this is like really kind of weird.
do you smoke?
like,
You smoke a lot of
no,
weed?
I'm totally
Okay, so there's some truth to that, right? Because every electrical signal creates some kind of magnetism.
magnetism.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so this magnetism, like there's technically a mutual inductance between us right now, between the electrical
you guys
fields
are like
that we're creating.
Right.
And you got
Together.
one too. Don't look at me like that. You guys got one too.
No, we're all together.
Exactly.
We all have. There's one right here. We're all.
All of our cycles are in sync right now, and so there is
Yeah.
some truth with that.
Yeah. So there's right, and so there's this electrical field that definitely goes outside your body. So why would you not be able to a certain degree, read my mind or have similar thoughts that I do? Right.
Think of a number between 1 and 10 right now.
Got it.
7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're thinking seven. Son of a bitch. Right there. That's proof.
Oh man.
That's proof. I'm not kidding. I really
that
was
was
thinking
actually
seven.
mine.
I believe you.
Why were we both 7?
Oh my God. I swear I was thinking 7. I'm not kidding.
I'm not lying.
Oh my God.
Man, I hope
That's it.
I hope no future employers look at this and just
Can we
disbar me from
prove
ever
that-
being a real
can we
engineer.
prove that just
'cause you're like,
happened?
this guy doesn't
No,
know
we
what's
didn't
happening.
just lie?
No, that's real. Well, I think it's pretty. Anyone who's been listening to this knows there's no prior planning.
And also, anyone who's listening to this probably picked 7. I just want to. I think it's just
Adam, what number are you thinking?
7.
No, you weren't.
There it is. So they didn't even go that far. So anyway,
That's
I
8
know
feet
this
for
sounds
those
like
that
really
listen.
like weird, like whatever hippie shit or fake, but like I really think this is based on like my loose understanding of science.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why a like human body, which is made out of mostly empty space, would like stop all electrical impulses
yeah.
and things from going other places.
You know what else David Blank taught me? Is that you can get stabbed slowly and not die. There's this one guy, he would let people take a rapier? What's that? A
Rapier, yeah.
a thin
French
sword. And slowly stab him anywhere. He even went through his lungs, in and out the back, and pull it out, and nothing would happen to him.
How? He just said really slow is the key.
I don't know.
I feel like
But David
it's not
Blaine
true,
let
though.
Trump, ice pick. Look at that.
Oh yeah, look
Wow.
at
I
that.
have
You
seen
are
it.
sweaty.
we were
let
talking
him-
about this. It's just 'cause
Let him
the,
ice pick his bicep, just in and out, and then pull it out, and it just like barely bled a tad. But
He's also a magician.
Yeah.
But he said a lot of his tricks aren't actually magic; they're tricks. Like he drank a shit ton of water and then put a frog in his mouth, and then it sprayed all this water out, and then pulled the frog back out. So like
So
on the
just, like,
street,
regurgitated.
what you would do is you'd have like water. You dump a bunch of water in. You put kerosene on top of it. You do fire breath, and then you put the fire out with water.
right.
I
So
just
you-
want to see him on the street, like self-inducing vomit.
He
to
said
get
he
the
had
frog
10
out.
frogs in there. He just was like,
That's like some joke
Yeah.
from Arrested Development shit.
But
Like, he just swallowed
the
10
trick
frogs
is that you
in
think
hope.
it's a trick and it's real. You think that
Yeah. You think he's like, oh, it's a
okay,
trick.
yeah.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
he just
he sucked the
just-
frog out of
he's
his
just
kinda
gut.
like
crazy
Chris
enough
Angel.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Angel is just Satan, so
Yeah.
he can do all those things.
I heard he did TV tricks. Like he did this one where he walked on a pool
Oh.
and he just had a glass on
there
the
was
pool.
just
He just cheated.
Yeah, there was like a bucket underneath
Yeah.
each of his steps.
Well, Mark Twain said that if you have to eat a frog every day, the best thing you do is eat it first thing in the morning.
David Blaine said that
And if you
too.
have to eat 2 frogs, then you should eat the bigger one first.
Yeah.
Because then everything gets better the rest of
I'm
the day.
reading a book on procrastination called Eat That Frog, and
Oh, yeah.
they quote Mark Twain at the first thing of that book.
You can quote Mark Twain for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That guy was crazy.
I like to do that. Like if I have stuff like chores I need to do and it's Sunday, I like to wake up and do it before noon. But once noon hits, I'm not doing shit on Sunday.
Yeah, other than drink too much coffee and get all pumped up.
Just sit there
And then realize you're too pumped up.
on coffee, just tweaked out watching like cartoons.
Yeah.
I think of
I don't do anything
sometimes like, if you could, like a question, like if you could eat dinner or talk to anybody in the history of the world, like who would it be, you know? And I always think that kind of era, like Mark Twain, John Muir, Teddy Roosevelt, like, can I just go to dinner with those three? Because they were all friends.
Yeah.
And like Hemingway, like those guys would all chum around.
They were buddies?
Yeah. Like they go hunting in Africa together and shit, right?
Yeah.
And
Safaris.
like they go on safaris. Yeah. Like in Hemingway, the Green Hills of Africa, he like goes hunting in Africa. But anyway, like, yeah, Hemingway, Twain, John Muir, and Teddy Roosevelt were all, while Teddy Roosevelt was president, he just like disappeared for 3 months, went hiking around Yosemite with John Muir. Like it was like this, like totally. Anyway, how about
What's
that?
the 2020 equivalent of that?
I was literally just thinking
So we
that.
have President Trump, and who's his friends?
Well, that's-
what
I got nothing.
Compared
Does he have
to,
friends or just
compared to
family?
that,
I don't think he cares about anybody else.
that foursome, like
Yeah, who do we got?
we have Trump and some of his friends.
No,
Those
probably
four
okay.
were amazing.
I
Who
mean,
do we got? Bill Nye.
Bill, okay, the science guy.
well, Bill Nye, yeah, that's great. But who's he friends with?
Oh, right. He's a nerd. He doesn't have any friends.
He's everybody's friend.
Yeah, okay.
Mr.
Steve
Rogers.
Mr.
is
Rogers.
dead.
I was gonna say Mr. Rogers. I bet
I
Mr.
was gonna
Rogers
say
and Bill
Steve
Nye are
Irwin's
friends.
also R.I.P.
Oh yeah. God damn you, Stingrays.
David Blaine talked about Steve Irwin.
About what?
Steve Irwin on that podcast.
Oh, Keanu Reeves.
I guess when you have a 3-hour podcast.
But like, what a like eclectic group of like guys.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
super-
Yeah.
Like a couple
Politician
writers, a
and
couple
writers,
politicians,
yeah.
like very
That's
bizarre.
John
we need-
Muir was a
we need-
doctor, I'd assume.
I don't
mean, he has
know.
the hospital named after him. Is he some kind of
We need to start that crew around Elon Musk. Elon Musk
Yeah.
needs to pick like
I feel like he's too
two
much of
other
a
guys.
troll. Like people who are close to him don't like him because he's kind of.
And I don't know if he has any like. I think he's too busy to have like friends, real friends.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Just a daughter and a son and a wife.
He named his son something real weird.
Well, Miley
X8
Cyrus, Wiz Khalifa, and Stevie Ray
There we go.
Cyrus, they all hang out.
Yeah.
You know,
Steve Ray Cyrus?
Stevie Ray Cyrus, Billy Ray
Ray.
Cyrus,
Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
still Stevie Ray Vaughan, also dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well there you go. Well, it's us. It's Wes Kitts, Jake Baker, and Danny Lehr,
It's
And
us.
and Adam.
There's gotta be a fourth.
Yeah. So we could pair up with the old 1900 boys.
Yeah, go on a safari.
Go on a safari.
And guess the numbers that we're all thinking of.
Yeah.
Damn good time.
Like, you guys want to see a
70?
trick? You guys want to see a
7? Every time, man.
That-
How do you know that?
That's like a great shtick. 7 me too. Every time at 7.
No.
My in-laws actually, it's really so my mother-in-law is an artist, and so she's an artist.
Yeah.
Like pretty like spacey type thing. A ton of fun, but she's just like kind of out
That
there.
eclectic artist.
Very
personality.
eclectic, yeah.
Yes.
And it's funny because then the dad, my father-in-law, is like a history major. Like very history. Anyway,
This happened at this time on this day.
Yeah.
That's it.
So they have this like shtick they would do sometimes. They'd be like, okay, check this out. Go for Dave. You're like, all right, name this tune. And then he starts whistling a song, and then she calls it out, but it's the same one every damn time.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, so it's funny, but it's like it's actually more funny if you know the shtick.
Yeah.
Because it's like every time it's the same song.
That's awesome.
No.
We were
There you go.
somewhere. Where were we?
Caffeine Kilos.
Yeah. Now you guys
Um,
sell like a ton of shirts every year.
Now, so that was 2013 when we first started. Now it's 2020.
as clothing, right? Or was coffee
No, so-
always
Mm-hmm.
original? Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna have the meet, and we're gonna sell. Well, let's sell apparel at the meet, the Caffeine Kilos shirts, because it's the same idea now. And it's like, well, if we do that, it's all about coffee and caffeine. We should make our own coffee too. What does that entail? And that entails a Google search. And then you,
How hard is it to make coffee?
well, so you, I was like, well, I don't know, I'm not a coffee roaster, but so let's find one. And so we just started searching roasters, and we kind of gave them the idea. Hey, here's the deal. Is we're in the fitness industry and people drink coffee and weightlifting and CrossFit and stuff. And so we want a coffee that like tastes good, but we know we like looked it up. I think there's a way to make like more caffeine, but all natural, like nothing added, just like coffee. Actually, our coffee's organic. Like use different types of beans to make higher caffeine. Could you like look this up and like find this and help us with this? And so a lot of like, oh yeah. And then one guy is like, oh, I love this idea. He's like, man, everyone's always calling me like, make the best coffee you can. But how many times can you make the best coffee in the world? Like, like once is the answer, by the way.
Yeah.
He's like, but how many times can you make the best coffee? This is great. I'm like, let me call you back. I got super into it. And he was actually from Sacramento. And that's kind of, yeah. And so that was Roaster Dave. And so he came back. All right, so I figured out this bean has this bean is like twice as much. And so if we go 50-50, it's going to have like, 50% more.
Does
than
everybody
standard
know
cup of
that
coffee.
your caffeine or your coffee was it double caffeine?
No, well, so we actually, that's upcoming. But so right now we have different blends, and our most popular blend, the PR blend, has 50% more caffeine than a standard cup of coffee. And there's nothing added. It's all organic coffee. It's just the types of beans and the way they're blended and roasted.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's 1.5 times
a standard cup.
Mm-hmm.
One
Yep.
cup equals 1.5
Cups.
regular cups.
Right. Yep. But all at once, right? It's like a shot compared to like drinking a beer. So like hits you sooner.
Where are we at with I said we should do an espresso 5-hour energy.
Oh yeah, that's a packaging nightmare. Not saying it's never gonna happen, but that's not on the short list.
Like a ready to drink, just
Mhm.
pop
It's
it
like a
open.
little espresso
RTDs.
shot. And you just
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about those a lot,
Down it.
but there's a lot more to that than you'd think.
Like 17 people will listen to this podcast, so you should just tell
Might be 20.
everyone that you guys want to do this, and maybe one of the 17 listeners,
Hey, if you
one of
guys
our
actually
moms
There's a
will know
roaster Dave out there.
somebody.
Yeah.
My mom's gonna listen for sure.
My mom listens too, actually.
Yeah. Hi, mom.
Jake's mom hates us.
No, she's our #1 fan.
Is she?
Yeah.
Hi, Jake's mom.
Okay.
Hey, mom.
So.
Chevy's mom's our #2 fan.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She a big fan?
Yeah, I get.
I would say
We
so.
assume.
Okay, there you go. Hi,
She
Miss Chevy.
she participates highly.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she's helped Dave coach Chevy a couple times.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She's
Awesome.
active on social media.
Yeah,
She's a very nice woman.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet her at some point. So then we started making our coffee. And so, so it was at the invite, we actually were selling coffee and the apparel.
Oh, okay.
So we started sending the apparel
Wow.
out.
So you guys got coffee going in 10 weeks.
Yeah, right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So when we started, we had like a tank top, a t-shirt, and the coffee. And that first design is actually still our most popular selling t-shirt still today.
Mm-hmm.
And the
CK.
arch, like classic arch logo.
Yeah.
Like black arch logo shirt. And so that was the first design we were sold, and it's still our biggest seller.
I bet. Yeah.
So there you
cool.
go. And we didn't.
Yeah.
That was the only shirt we made for like 3 or 4 years. We'd be like, oh, if we want something new, now
Every
let's
color.
get wild. Let's make it in fucking blue. And everyone's like, oh, and us too. We're like, oh, blue. And it was great. It was great.
That's
and it just
awesome.
like rocket ship straight off.
Yeah.
It's like people talk about business like the hockey stick curve, but ours wasn't really like that, because in a hockey stick there's a flat part, and we just kind of went straight out the gates.
Well, you
guys
kicked
just
it
have
off
a-
with a monster
So we kicked. So
event. Like
Yeah.
that's
we
so
did.
cool.
We were doing
That might be
influencer.
the way to just
Mhm.
start a business.
So
Do
yeah,
it with an event.
and it was like a launch party basically, right?
Yeah.
On accident. So it was like it was like influencer marketing before that was a thing,
Right.
right? Or like, because it was like 2013, Instagram was just starting really, or just kind of taking off.
Mhm.
And so all the best weightlifters, or not all, but a lot of the top weightlifters in the country were lifting in this meet.
Yeah.
And then Charlie had a bunch of friends at the time. He was kind of hooked in with the Progenics crew, and they were like the biggest, kind of company in
Right.
CrossFit at the time.
That
They had
was
a lot of good athletes.
product
Until
back
And
then.
so-
2015, I think they got a little,
Right
they
around
got in a
there,
little trouble.
15 or 16, yeah. And so Charlie knew a bunch of their athletes, which were the top athletes in CrossFit or up and comers. And so we sent stuff to them. So we just sent stuff to all our friends.
Yeah.
Right. But because we had been in the industry for a while, we knew a lot of the more popular people. And so it was like very beginning of Instagram. So these people were, the timeline was still, what's the term where it's time order, chronological,
Mhm.
Type stuff. And so anyway, it was good. It was good timing. We had a good product. We had friends that were excited about it and wanted to help with it. And so we started selling stuff online before the meet started.
Yeah.
We had the shirts. We're like, oh, we're gonna need a website.
I've
And
always
so
said-
it just kind of, so we started selling shit online before the meet happened.
Yeah, I've always said that Caffeine and Kilos really pioneered the brand separated by an ampersand, because I think after you guys in like 2014, 15, 16, all these lifestyle brands started to pop up that were just 2 words separated by an ampersand.
Yeah.
And Caffeine and Kilos is still like the number one.
Well,
like
if you look at our trademarks and that, we use the and word.
Whole word.
yes.
All 3 letters.
Okay.
But sometimes we use the ampersand, or sometimes we use the logo as the
Just
and.
that idea though, the
Yeah,
brand
for sure.
name
This
being
and that.
this and that.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a brand right there.
This and that.
This and that.
Oh shit. Run it! Hey Steve, he's got another one! Jake, tell him!
You won't do a this and that shirt.
Oh no, not a this and that shirt, it's this and that brand.
Yeah.
Caffeine and Kilos should
It's
do a
stickers
this and that
first.
shirt.
We should actually
You
do
should
actually like this and that.
Just troll the whole blank and blank
fuck it.
community.
Just let it fly.
As the front runner, go ahead and just shit on everyone else.
That's actually really funny. I'm not against it. I'm pretty so how Caffeine and Kilos still works. Like Charlie's no longer with the company. Is Dean and myself are the sole owners now. And then we have a small team that does stuff. We have someone that handles a lot of the marketing and different things. And anyway, I'm not real I have opinions about things, but I'm not real stubborn. Like if I really think something, but if you really like if everyone else thinks the opposite, I'm like, all right, let's try it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think anyone who like you shouldn't be so arrogant that you think that you know more than these other 4 people.
Right.
Right. Or even one other person. Like if I really feel strongly about something, usually people, you can feel that, right? You're like, okay, well, I disagree, but he really thinks this. So like, we'll let it play out type thing. But most of the time it's kind of like, well, if you think it's a good idea, let's try it. See where it goes, can't be afraid to try things.
Yeah.
So maybe this and that's the way to go. I think it's funny.
Take it.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it goes. So everybody didn't think that Caffeine and Kilos was gonna be a great idea.
Dave Spitz, yeah, he talked about that earlier. He said that's what the only thing he wanted us to talk about was how Charlie was out here with me lifting on a Friday night, and Charlie was telling Dave, he's like, "Oh man, it's really this thing, Caffeine and Kilos," and Dave, "This is a terrible idea. It's never gonna work." It was like what? It was like on Seinfeld. It's like this idea. It is terrible. Like, was that for you? I'm talking about. I don't. Anyway, like that was basically how it went down. He's like, "No, that's not." Oh, it was the jump to conclusions, Matt. In Office Space. One of the guy goes, "This idea. It is terrible."
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like what Dave said. He's like, it's not never gonna work type deal. And I actually told him earlier today. I said it was no problem. He was the only one who told us it was a terrible idea. Because he was the only one we told about the idea. And it's not like we were trying to keep it secretive. It just all happened really fast. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, I had no idea, honestly. At that time, we didn't know we were, like, building this company that was going to be this international, brand still around 10 years.
Awesome.
It was like, we're just going to do a weightlifting meet and sell some shirts. And then it was like, and we believed in what we were doing. But then it was like, man, the idea really resonated with the people, and so then after that, so that meet was in like September, and so I was teaching. So I went back to school, whatever, and like taught that whole year, and things kept getting busier and busier and busier. And then it was like over the course of that year, I was getting up and working from 5 a.m. till 7 a.m. And then I'd go and teach school, and then I was coaching wrestling, and then after wrestling practice, I'd come home and eat dinner, and then I would work from 6 p.m. or the kids go to bed at 7, because we had the one daughter. And I'd work from like 7:30 at night till 10:30 at night. And I did that every day. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable. Like it's okay for a short period of time. That's what you got to do.
Right.
It's not a huge deal. You work and, like also like during my prep at school, like sometimes like, I don't, if I had some time or during my lunch breaks, I was working on it. And so I was just basically working whatever, like 7 hours a day for Caffeine and Kilos outside of my regular job and that type of thing. So after 1 year of that, I was confident that there was something going on here.
Yeah.
But to kind of placate my wife a bit, she was always very supportive, but it wasn't like, yeah, quit your job. This is fucking great,
Yeah.
So I found a part-time, it was like a 50% teaching job. And so anyway, so I took that. And so then I did that for a full year. And so that was like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and every other Friday. Basically, I was like still teaching. And so then on all the off days, I was doing Caffeine and Kilo stuff. And that helped relieve the doing nothing at home except for working part of it, because that's not good for your marriage either long term. And so then, but then it was just like then over that year, our kind of like actually like taking a salary from the job kind of started to actually happen.
Yeah.
It's like the first year we ran the company, we didn't take a dime. Like I
Right.
took like zero money from the company for the whole first like year or so. None of
Yeah.
us did. So anyway, so in that second year, it's like, okay, now we got like, here's a little bit of money, whatever, you know, and then it got like steady. So it's like, okay, we can actually rely on getting paid, you know, every month or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Hence then I quit teaching. And so that's now it's been like 5 years
Wow.
since that.
That's awesome.
But that's kind of how it all goes down.
Yeah.
But it was great. Yeah.
I like people that start their own shit.
I
That
think-
want to do something and like go get it and like
I think anyone can do it. I don't know why more people don't.
work for themselves and
Yeah.
like create. Creativity doesn't come natural to everybody.
Yeah, I don't
Well-
think everyone can do it because also work ethic doesn't come naturally to everyone.
I guess that
like,
might be true.
You know, waking up at 5 and working for 2 hours before going to work
Yeah.
and then working.
Your step
after
one
that.
was a deal breaker for
Yeah.
a huge percent of the population.
So
I like
yeah.
to start my day around 10 a.m. So if you still think I can do it,
I still do it. I'll
This
tell you
and
what,
that.
man. I get up at 4:30 because then I work from like 5 till 6:30 or 7, and it is the most productive. Like no one's calling you, no one's texting you, no one's expecting you to respond to emails.
Mhm.
Like you got this like block. The kids are asleep.
It's like a
The
head
wife's
start.
asleep.
The sun's not up.
Sun's not up. Beat the fucking
Still
sun.
dark.
Who's waiting for the sun? Lazy motherfuckers. That's it. You know, I got stuff to do. And so that's it. So I do that 7 days a week. I get up at 4:30 and start working at 5 and work till 6:30 or 7. And then, and you get the most important, whatever the most important thing you have to do that day or whatever requires the most concentration, you do then.
Your chores.
Basically, the frog, eat your frog, right?
Eat your
Talk about
frogs.
that. Eat your frogs. And then that way, no matter what happens the rest of the day, you moved it forward. You're
day's
always
ramping
moving
up.
forward.
you at least
all day.
did something.
Yeah, you did something.
Yeah.
So you never get to this thing where, you know, because throughout the day, shit happens. You know what I mean? Like either, I mean, it could be as extreme as like getting in a car accident and then basically you're doing nothing the rest of the day,
Mhm.
right? Like that would definitely happen. But it could even just be like whatever, like something's broken on the website that needs to get fixed. And then like you spend all day doing that and nothing got moved forward. You're just doing catch up stuff,
Mhm.
whatever, you know?
Shit your pants.
You shit your pants, you know? It's like, well, now I gotta like put these underwear in the round file.
I gotta
You know?
burn this, make sure no one knows or ever finds out that this happened.
And then like everyone asks why you're wearing one sock the rest of the day. And then when they ask why you want to wear a sock, and you say, "Cause I use the other one to wipe with." You know, it's funny.
All these questions come in. And
There's never any follow up questions after that one. Why do you have one sock on? I had to use the other one. The other one's got shit all over it.
Let me explain.
I'd used a wipe, and they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, sorry I asked. Like, no, it's actually a funny story. They're like, I don't know.
I hear it though.
I got this thing I got to do over there in the corner by myself. Yeah. Well, so my upbringing, my grandfather had his own business. My parents ran a business, but my grandfather had property all over town. He would, buy an empty lot and then build a little corrugated sheet metal warehouse type building on it and rent it out or use it, whatever. And he just did that type of stuff. And then, so he had different rental properties around town. He had a air conditioning business. And then when he retired, my dad worked there. When he retired, my dad, my aunt, and my uncle were running that business. So growing up, that's just kind of, it wasn't a weird thing to make your own money or have your own job type thing.
Yeah.
My dad had a job, but he worked at the business that my grandfather owned, or then he worked at the business that he owned type thing. Right.
Yeah.
So I remember, sometimes after dinner, he would have something he has to do down at the shop.
Right.
And so sometimes me and my brother would go with him. He's like, hey, I got to go in the shop for an hour to do this thing. You guys want to go? And it's like, we'd be in the back, fucking around with sheet metal, trying not to cut our fingers off, because he'd basically all right. Yeah, he'd be in his office doing whatever paperwork calculations. We'd be in back running sheet metal through corrugators or cutting it or starting the soldering iron. And nah, we didn't do much soldering by ourselves. But when he was there, he'd be like, oh, let me teach you how to solder.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm 4. I was wondering when I was going to learn. We were driving forklifts, 6 years old. So just that type of shit. And then even when I was in high school, we'd work for the family business. And so I knew I'd been around that, and been around my grandfather, bought a house that was on a double lot. The house is in like pretty ill repair. So I bought the house, fixed the house up, put another house on, split the lot, put another house there, sold them both.
Yeah.
Right. And I was 13 years old. And he's like, oh, good. You can ride your bike over and take care of the pool and like help me over this. So that was like my summer job.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the lesson there was like, he bought this house that was run down and like he made his own money. Right. Like he like
real
did
estate's
this.
like a creative way to like, it's like a second job. It's kind of like you starting Caffeine and Kilos. Like you start a house project and you have to grind
I'm
on
just going to
that.
do this thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so it wasn't, so that was normal to me. Like people making their own money, doing their own thing. My dad was doing, I mean, he had the air conditioning business and on the side, he would do these energy calculations. When you build a new house, it has to have like double pane windows and insulation of a certain thickness and has to pass these like Title 24 is what it's called in California. Yeah. So you have to get these like, someone has like run these numbers on, do these calculations and improve it. And so he would like do that on the side. So like sometimes he wouldn't be like a workaholic, like we'd go backpacking and stuff, but like, whatever, on a Saturday, he'd spend 45 minutes, get out these blueprints at the kitchen table and like do this thing. And it's like, oh, and I knew like that's not his main job, but he's like doing this thing.
Yeah.
And
a
like
side hustle.
He gets paid a little side hustle.
Yeah.
And so I kind of saw that growing up. That was normal. That's just what, and I knew my mom's dad, I was young when he died, but I knew like he owned like a drive-in, like a, your car hop drive-in, like roller skates type thing, like back in the day. So like I kind of knew like it wasn't weird to me for people to own their own business or make their own money. And so even though I went to college and was a teacher, I always kind of knew like, oh yeah, it's like I'll probably have my own business at some point, or like, why not?
There'll be something that
people
you do in that.
own their own businesses. It's what they do,
what
you know?
do, yeah.
And then I got into the gym and how that thing kind of went down, whatever. But I knew this guy just started a gym and he really needed help with it type thing. And so he's like, hey, I really need help. Are you interested in like being a part of this? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like there wasn't this like, oh, what are the risks? Like I never really thought about, to me, it was only upside. I'm like, well, why would I not want to be a part of this
opportunity?
This is a great opportunity. Look at this opportunity, it's a no brainer. So that's why I was like, I think anybody could do it. I think it's maybe they couldn't because it's a mindset. They weren't raised with that belief or that knowledge that you can just do it.
Yeah. You just say it's much more simple than people think, though.
It's much more simple than people. I think people get stopped because they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, well, shit.
It's intimidating, right? Like, I have to run this business. There's an initial investment and all this time that goes into it, and yada, yada, yada. But I think, if you take the approach you did, where you're just kind of following the things you like. Yeah.
And also, like, you don't know, like, well, yeah, either do I. Like, here's what I found. The more I go in business, the more friends I have. They're like in like I have friends that run businesses that make, $100 million a year type thing. Right. And what I find out when you talk to them is they don't know what the fuck they're doing either. They don't. I'm totally serious. Yeah. Like you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, we're trying this thing. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like, do you think that's like, where'd you come up with that? They're like, seems like a good idea.
This and that.
Yeah, seriously. I was like, oh, well, someone said it. And I thought, well, hell, why not? Let's give it a go, And 100%, it's like, you just try something. And it's like, this is funny, but I have this friend of mine, Noah Kagan. He was actually like the 30th employee at Facebook. And like did that for a while. So like worked directly under Zuckerberg and the whole thing. Yeah. And then like had a couple like pretty high jobs like that. And now he has his own business and it does really well. He has a couple businesses. And he always, his business advice, like, well, when I talk to him, he's always like, how's business? I was like, what's working? And I tell him, he's like, yeah, you should do more of that. I'm like, oh,
that's brilliant.
Interesting. And he's like, what's kind of not working? I'm like, oh, we tried this thing. It just totally flopped. He's like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. But that's it.
That is business consulting.
That's it. And that's the same. The higher you go, the more things stay the same. Yeah. Like that's it. Even the guys at the top, you think like, oh, this guy's got all figured out. He's got this company that does $130 million a year in sales. It's like, no, he doesn't have shit. Like all he's got figured out is what he's done till now.
Right.
Like what the next step is, he does not have he has ideas maybe, but he's going to try it. It's going to work or it's not, In fact, Wes inspires me. I remember one time we're out here, he was clean and jerking, doing more cleans than jerks. At this time,
you still that.
You've done significantly more cleans than jerks in your career, as far as made lifts. Attempts relatively equal, but the made lifts is a vast discrepancy. So he's out there and it was something heavy. I don't remember. It was 220 or something. And I'm I'm like, Wes. It's kind of a little bit of like motivate him a little bit, but it's kind of whatever. And I knew he was like pretty into it. And like, yeah, you gonna jerk it too though? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, you sure? It looks pretty heavy. What makes you think you can do that? And he just goes, well, other people do it. And then like new to California, the Tennessee accent was thicker than normal.
Yeah.
You know, it was like really on thing. Other people do it. And I remember looking at him, I thought, well, hell, if that's not a reason, what is? You know? And actually, you know, I've never forgotten that, by the way, Wes. I think about it all the time, actually. Anytime something like really hard or whatever is coming up, a lot of times I think that I'm like, if someone's like, you know, trying to do it, or if I'm thinking like, can I do this or whatever? I'm like, well, other people do it.
Other people did. Yeah.
You know, well, golly. He said that, and I said, well, by God, he's right.
Well, dang, damn it.
All right.
Yeah, no, but seriously, that's a real story, though. I remember that. I said, other people do it. I remember thinking, I'm like, shit, yeah, they do. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know? And I think you take that aspect to, you know, every part of life, really.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, someone else can do it. Why not you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And too many people come up with excuses why they can't instead of excuses why they can.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that only matters as much as you think it does. Oh, this is hard. Well, yeah. Well, how about you just decide that you don't fucking care that it's hard? Like, what about that?
Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like lifting. Of course it's hard. It's called weightlifting. Of course it's heavy.
Yeah.
You know?
Why would that ever factor into it? Like, why
Yeah.
is that something that we immediately go to? Like,
It's heavy. It's like, yeah, no shit. The sport's called weightlifting.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, that's a big. It's like, just how about you just decide that you don't care if it's heavy,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna do it
You can't
anyway.
do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then it's a totally different thing.
You don't care if it's early. You don't care if you're tired. Like,
It doesn't matter.
because you still got to do it.
It's still gonna happen.
You know.
How about you just decide that it doesn't matter? Like, you can do that. You can just decide.
Yeah, you can be honest and you can accept that it's going to be heavy, but who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Doesn't
You
matter.
do it
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, dwelling on how it's gonna feel heavy doesn't make it less heavy.
Yeah. That's going to, if anything, make it heavier.
Yeah. Somehow.
It will make it much heavier.
Physics.
Yeah. Because valence electrons, I'm pretty sure.
Valence elect, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's like I don't like to sit on my weights.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to be all. I want to be like fluffy. You know, so I try.
Down.
Yeah, I don't want to like. Yeah.
There's something to it. It's not science. It's in between science and something that's not science, but there's something to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty good.
I think that's a good one. And just other people do
Other people do it.
it.
Man, yep.
That's real.
That's it, man. Like,
That's like
All right, this has been another episode of the Be Somebody
before
podcast.
we go. Think of a number between 1 and 10. 7.
7.
Oh,
I said 7.
twice in a row.
Woo! Adam. Oh, I knew it. Hey.
Do you have anything you want to like tell everybody about? before we go?
CaffeineandKilos.com. I actually messed up because I'm not very good about this part. It's something I should say. Something I'm going to be better at is that when you're doing interviews, you're supposed to say like CaffeineandKilos.com.
Yeah.
Whatever you want them to remember, you say it 7 times throughout the podcast, and it helps. So I didn't say CaffeineandKilos.com earlier enough. So if I say CaffeineandKilos.com, I'm supposed to get it in there. So if you go to CaffeineandKilos.com, you can get the PR Blend coffee we talked about at CaffeineandKilos.com. There's also a coffee of the month, which is actually super dope. You get a new coffee every single month. Or we have like thumb tape. Our thumb tape's really good. And the Caffeine and Kilos shirts that are at CaffeineandKilos.com are really good also.
And what website was that?
Ding, 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 ding.
DannyLehr.com.
I have one. I started Patreon. So far, I have I think 7 subscribers.
Oh, there we
so
go.
I told him it's a waste of time. You should be on OnlyFans.
but
Who says he's not?
basically, I'm just you know what I'm trying to do, guys.
No, I meant as a provider.
You guys are ruining. You guys are ruining my plug. You guys are ruining it.
Check out West
Patreon.
Kids. Be somebody at Patreon.
Dude, you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to like talk about the Cal Strength program and how I'm moving through it and like showing people the like a whole session. So like let's say I have to snatch big. I've got some misses in there, some shitty lifts. I'm just leaving all the cuts in, and I'd like to talk about like what was good and what was bad, and just try to share.
And how you're feeling.
Yeah, just try to share as much weightlifting information as I can. I think that would be super
Yeah,
cool.
questions we all have that we don't ask that we actually
Right.
want to know.
And
It's
so
good
so far,
content.
the 6 or 7 people, they're asking a couple questions, but I want like a community of like Cal Strength soldiers and weightlifting fans where we can all like kind of hang out and have this thing.
Yeah.
You know what else I think would be really cool?
Tell me.
It's like a book club for like
Oh yeah.
for like Jocko books. I like
Empire of the Summer Moon.
I like Goggins. I'll probably do that one because it's just about Indian stuff. I like the motivational.
Indians are motivating.
That's
Honestly?
just like a storybook.
They're pride. They're proud people.
They are. That's a storybook. I want
Motivation.
to learn.
Oh yeah, you want to get learned.
Once an Eagle is a storybook. You will get the most motivation reading out of this book, though.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I don't know
Anton
that.
Meyer.
Actually, yeah. Oh, you want to get into that? Is actually Open, the Andre Agassi. It's the biography.
yeah.
The Andre
Yeah.
Agassi
I heard that's
biography
actually
is
really good.
absolutely incredible, and you get learned
Yes.
and
Get
inspired.
learned up and inspired up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just
Scar Tissue.
That I wish you saw.
Anthony Kiedis.
Oh,
That's his biography.
Mm.
Not very motivational. Kind of sad, actually.
So-
I believe it. Yeah, I
he's
don't wanna
overcome a
read that.
lot of stuff.
in all
and
these
it's good.
books, you're seeing people kind of go through shit and accomplish shit
Mhm.
and do it kind of like come out the other side better.
Absolutely.
And it just goes along with the somebody
Other
else is
people
doing
do
it.
it.
Be
Other
somebody.
people do it.
Oh, yeah, other people
Everybody's
do
doing
it.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's all very synergistic. It all kind of it melts together. It's towards
Yeah.
the same goal. It's
What's
all
the
that
best book you've read in the past year?
I liked the first Jocko book that he did. Was out in that? It's not Dichotomy of Leadership. That's the second one.
Uh,
first one?
Extreme Excellence.
Extreme Ownership.
Extreme
Extreme
Ownership.
Ownership.
Yeah.
I love
Very
that
good book.
I want to read it again. I was like taking notes and going through it, but I really.
I thought you were
liked
gonna say
Extreme
like,
Ownership.
a Tale of Two Kitties.
Oh, I thought he was going to say
Two
Anna
kitties.
Karen
Anna Karenina.
the Novatsky.
I really
Yeah.
like Dr. Seuss.
Crime and Punishment was probably my topic.
But I think it
The
would be
Bible too.
The
Bible.
Jesus Harder. That was good.
I thought that'd be cool once I have a little community to.
Yeah.
Also, maybe the best book I've read, possibly ever. Educated. This book called Educated,
Yeah.
and this girl, her parents did not believe in sending them to public school,
Okay.
so she grew up in Idaho, out in the sticks, and it was like, no, public school, why? So the government can brainwash you. And anyway, not ruining it because she wrote this book, but basically she grows up. The first time she ever goes attends school was her freshman year at college. And anyway, and then she found out for the first time she didn't know how to pronounce this word, and it was Holocaust, because she didn't know that happened.
Wow.
Because she didn't go to school.
Right.
It was just like all of her education was like her parents taught her how to read, and they had like some encyclopedias, and that was kind of it, right?
Okay.
Anyway, but she studied and passed the ACT, got this great score on it, and lied about her schooling and got into college. Anyway, so then she dove in hard. Point is, she ended up getting a PhD from Cambridge.
Wow.
And wrote this book, but the story of overcoming things and
Right.
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
So that's like an 18
It's a true
year
story.
deficit. That's crazy.
Yeah, starting 18 years behind.
Yeah.
Wild. Anyway, highly recommend. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks
Cool.
for listening to us. It's Danny Lehr, everybody.
All right, this is the West Kits Be Somebody podcast with co-host Jake Baker and
Danny Lehr.
Daniel Lehr.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Remember, other people do it.
Caffeinekills.com.